Fox News.
38 degrees, 5:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. A trial date has been set next year for former Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan. Madigan and longtime confidant Michael McLean are scheduled to go on trial on racketeering charges April 1st of 2024. Both were indicted last March with conspiring to participate in an array of bribery and extortion schemes from 2011 to 2019. A superseding indictment announced in October accused them of also arranging payments to be made in 2017 to Madigan allies as a reward for helping with legislation sought by AT&T. 2 men are dead in a wrong-way crash in Gurnee. Authorities say a Nissan was traveling at a high rate of speed when it struck a Ford Edge in that northern suburb. Ford caught fire after the collision. The driver of the Nissan pronounced dead at the scene. The driver of the Ford was hospitalized, later pronounced dead. Lots of promises that Governor J.B. Pritzker will now have to try to deliver on. AM 560's Greg Bishop reports from the governor's inauguration.
The governor took the oath of office Monday in Springfield alongside his wife and children. He joked about signs he saw around the state during the election that said, "Fire Pritzker."
I was concerned about this until my kids pointed out that when people in their generation think something is really cool, they say, "That's fire."
He then defined accomplishments for his first term, ranging from legalizing cannabis to increasing minimum wage, consolidating local public safety pension funds, further codifying access to abortion, and reflecting on his management of the COVID-19 pandemic. For his new term, he laid out some goals, including providing more options for childcare, universal pre-K, and more.
Since I took office, we've increased scholarships by more than 50%. Now let's focus on making tuition free for every working class family in Illinois.
At the Capitol in Springfield, I'm Greg Bishop.
The Illinois Senate has signed off on an anti-Second Amendment gun ban. The Senate last night passed its version of the proposed measure, which makes a modification from the House bill approved last week. The Senate amendments to the House bill bans the future sale of about 100 different semi-automatic pistols, shotguns, and rifles. Sales of long gun magazines with more than 10 rounds and handgun magazines with more than 15 would be prohibited. Both already in possession could be kept, but only on private property. Already owned guns would have to be registered. Republican State Senator Darren Bailey expects the measure to be struck down soundly in the courts.
You've got to know that the actions that you're taking right now are tyrannous, as my colleague Senator Bryant suggested. You also must know that I and millions of other gun owners in this state will not comply.
Senate President Don Harmon says he's expecting the legal battle.
I look forward to working with our partners in the House to pass this tomorrow and to put it on the governor's desk. We'll see you in court.
The House is expected to take up the measure today when they return, the final day of the lame duck session. Governor Pritzker has signed off on the In the Cover of Darkness pay raise for state lawmakers. The governor announcing yesterday he signed a bill that provides salary increases, major ones, for members of the Illinois legislature and taxpayer-funded raises for the executive branch as well. Candidate for Chicago Mayor Paul Vallas getting a major endorsement. Here's AM 560's Nikki Whaley.
Candidate for Chicago Mayor Paul Vallas is getting an endorsement from the Fraternal Order of Police. The former CPS CEO has faced criticism for his volunteer work for the FOP and its leader John Catanzara when he conducted volunteer work for the police union while it was negotiating its contract with the Lightfoot administration. A spokesperson for the mayor blasted the endorsement, saying Vallas should condemn the FOP's boss's history of hate-filled rhetoric rather than standing with Catanzara and carrying the shared MAGA values into City Hall. In the AM 560 The Answer newsroom, I'm Nikki Whaley.
Chicago City Council is losing yet another member. 26th Ward Alderman Roberto Maldonado has filed paperwork with the Chicago Board of Elections to withdraw his candidacy for re-election, the 16th alderman who will not return. Sentencing is delayed for a Chicago teen charged with making threats against Ann Urbana High School in November. The 16-year-old will now be sentenced on Friday after pleading guilty to felony disorderly conduct. An investigation is underway after a man and woman were found shot to death on Chicago's near South Side. The discovery made yesterday inside of a home in the 2000 block of South Indiana. Authorities are searching for two men wanted in two armed bank robberies in the northern suburbs. The first robbery happened yesterday at a Fifth Third Bank in Northbrook. Less than 30 minutes later, the pair hit the Fifth Third Bank in Evanston. There were no injuries. A measure requiring anyone installing a lawn sprinkling system in Illinois to have a licensed plumber hired for inspection has passed both chambers of the Illinois General Assembly. The House bill is a political payoff to union plumbers, filed by State Representative Jay Hoffman.
Act that we passed years ago regarding landscaping and licensing landscapers, and indicates that they will be extended from January 1st, 2024 to January 1st, 2029.
State Representative Mark Batnick voted against the political payoff, claimed there was no reason at all for the regulation or to micromanage homeowners.
Why we need them to look at the little, I mean, I know neighbors all the time, they just replace their own heads all the time. When one breaks, kids are playing in the yard, lawnmower hits it. I'm just wondering why we're doing this level of regulation.
The bill includes a $10,000 fine. Georgia back-to-back national champions, Dogs rolling to a 65-7 win over TCU. Best team in pro hoops rolled to another win. Celtics beat the Bulls 107-99. DeMar DeRozan missed and left the game with a quad injury after scoring 13. Fighting Illini will try to start another winning streak when they visit Nebraska tonight. The Illini dropping out of the AP Top 25 poll. Notre Dame looks to snap a 3-game losing streak when they host Georgia Tech tonight. Also tonight, DePaul and Villanova. Loyola at home against Virginia Commonwealth. UIC welcomes Drake. Northern Illinois, a home game against Central Michigan. Valparaiso hosts Belmont. The news service of the AM 560 store. Order T-shirts, hoodies, and more when you go to 560theanswer.com/store. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka asks an important question.
But everybody's talking about this judge, that judge, Supreme Court, Title 42. As far as I'm concerned, it's a joke. Well, what does Title 42 matter, whether it's in place or not, if the Biden administration isn't using it to deport people? Isn't this like a red herring?
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
It seems like everyone is on a complicated diet these days. Gluten-free, keto, metabolic, sugar-free. And with these diets comes special dietary protocol and food products. You can find plenty of advice on your social media sites, but you need expertise to purchase the right food items. A visit to Lil's Dietary Specialty Shop is necessary to shop the best food choices for a medical diet or health plan. Lil's Dietary Specialty Shop stocks all the hard-to-find foods you're looking for, like wheat and dairy alternatives, sugar-free baking mixes, healthy snacks, and more. There's no longer a reason to put off that diet you're supposed to be on when you have Lil's. The staff has personally researched and vetted each item in the store and has plenty of choices in stock.
Lil's Dietary Specialty Shop on 111th Street in Mount Greenwood on the south side of Chicago. Stop in and shop in person or order online at lilsdietary.com and get your items shipped right to your home. lilsdietary.com. Shop, learn, and be healthy.
During the pandemic, they closed our churches down.
Suicide rates are exploding. Drug and alcohol use is ravaging America, and there's no church to bring the hope.
See the new documentary, Super Spreader, how a stand against religious tyranny brought hope to a country in crisis.
Christian singer and activist Sean Foyt leading what's called Let Us Worship.
Here's a move of God. It's going to change America.
Watch Super Spreader, available now at salemnow.com. salemnow.com.
Thousands of young people are dying from counterfeit prescription drugs laced with lethal doses of fentanyl.
Never take a pill unless it comes from your pharmacist. We lost my 18-year-old son who had a very bright future ahead of him, and it was stolen.
Just one counterfeit pill laced with fentanyl can kill. Visit onepillkilled.org.
onepillkilled.org.
onepillkilled.org to learn more.
512 on AM 560, The Answer. Let's get a look at the roads in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. Inbound Edens and Kennedy are off on time right now. Ike and Stevenson rolling. Stevenson in right now at 22 minutes into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan is fine. Reagan Toll Road, Jane Addams. The Veterans Toll Road all moving without delay, as is Route 53. There is an accident in Wilmington this morning, right at Route 53 and Strip Mine Road. Traffic, a service of Protect and Grow with Tim Stearns, Saturdays at noon. And Chicago's Morning Answer starts next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with our AccuWeather meteorologist, Steve Williams.
Clouds and sun, high today 44. Cloudy tonight, low 34. Showers tomorrow, the high 45. Rain and snow Thursday, 1 to 3 inches, high 36. Plan with confidence. Check out AccuWeather.com today. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
38 at O'Hare, 39 Lakefront, 38 Midway, and 34 in Aurora. Your next news update, 5:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy starts next on AM 560, The Answer.
You know when you start up a motorcycle and you hear it go vroom, vroom, vroom when it takes off? I was losing that. I was losing my energy like everybody does as they grow older. And I don't want to be tired. I don't want to look tired, and I don't want to be tired. I started using Balance of Nature about a year and a half ago. Noticed the results immediately. And I went, oh my gosh, this works. This is what I've been missing all my life. I'm loving life actually more than I ever have. I missed my va-va voom. I got it back.
Experience the Balance of Nature difference for yourself. See why Kathy Lee Gifford and thousands of others have had life-changing success with Balance of Nature. Take advantage of our New Year's offer while you still can. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com. That's 1-800-246-8751 and get $25 off plus a free fiber and spice when you use discount code KLG.
Raj Shah, host of Unleash Your Wealth.
You know, there are a lot of clients and people coming in from the radio into our office saying, I don't want to lose any money. I need to protect the money I have saved over the last 20 or 30 years, where you have strategies where you can structure an income stream where it has an inflation protection so that as inflation, if it continues to go up, your income will go up.
Unleash Your Wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
Democrats predicted an end to high inflation, but nothing has changed. In fact, food and housing prices are still going higher. Hi, this is Stephen K. Bannon, and I urge you to protect your savings from inflation by diversifying into a physical gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. To see how it works, simply text the word Safeguard to 989898, and you'll get a free info kit on gold IRAs that will explain everything. Again, that's Safeguard to 989898. There's no obligation or purchase required.
What's for dinner? Burgers?
After last week, no thanks.
Avoiding foods due to fear of diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools? It may not be just stomach issues. It could be EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. EPI can cause uncomfortable symptoms because it's a condition where the pancreas doesn't release enough digestive enzymes to break down food. But EPI can be managed. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor about your symptoms. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Hi, I'm Randy Donnelly from Donnelly Auctions in Union, Illinois, and I'm currently planning my 2023 auction calendar now. I want to talk to you about items that you are considering selling. You already know that Donnelly Auctions specializes in things like guns and military, automobiles and motorcycles, and Petroliana. But I want to help you sell what you have collected. We have sold collections of police and fire badges, coin collections, and we've set a world record price for our last license plate auction. I may not be a magician, but I can make your collection disappear and reappear as money in your wallet. Donnelly Auctions is a worldwide marketplace with warehouses of collectibles. If you're selling, we can get you top dollar. Monthly auctions you can view and bid online as well. Contact me at 815-923-7000 or through our website at DonnellyAuctions.com for a free, no-obligation consultation. I'm Randy Donnelly, and I'll see you at the auction.
When you're looking to make your business bulletproof, what comes to mind? Trustworthiness? Accuracy? Truthiness? Well, that's not even a real word. In today's competitive business landscape, considerations like trust, attention to service, accuracy, and knowledge are critical. So is cost, and finding the right balance is important, especially where your business insurance, employee benefits, and executive compensation needs are concerned. For bulletproofing your business, remember DSP Insurance Services. DSP is family-owned and has provided comprehensive risk management solutions and strategic excellence across industries for over 40 years. Business owners continue to partner with DSP because they offer the robust services of a national broker, yet a personal touch that is harder than ever to find these days. Contact DSP Insurance Services for a business and risk audit today. Visit online at dspmybusiness.com. That's dspmybusiness.com. DSP Insurance, your outsourced risk management department since 1981.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Remember back in the fall, way back in the fall, before the election, but after the raid, the FBI's raid on Mar-a-Lago, Joe Biden sat down with for a softballer with 60 Minutes, and he was asked about the discovery of classified information at Mar-a-Lago. Of course, documents that arguably the federal government knew were there because they were involved in this back and forth between Trump's lawyers. But I digress. Joe Biden's heart hurt. He was suffering from a shocked conscience at the time. You remember.
I do.
When you saw the photograph of the top secret documents laid out on the floor at Mar-a-Lago, what did you think to yourself, looking at that image?
How that could possibly happen. How anyone could be that irresponsible. And I thought, what data was in there that may compromise sources and methods? By that I mean names of people who helped, or et cetera. And it's just totally irresponsible.
And then a tear rolled down his eye.
Such breathlessness. The trauma, Dan.
So he must have been surprised as anybody to learn yesterday that officials have confirmed a number of classified documents were found in the private office of the former vice president, now president, found in a private office at his think tank, the
Penn Biden Center, right, in Washington, D.C.?
That's right. The National Archives apparently has asked the Justice Department to open an investigation. They did that back in November after these documents, some marked top secret, were found in a locked closet. Locked
in a small office. Yes, a locked
in the
closet.
Penn Biden Center in Washington. And we also find out, the reporting is at least, John Solomon over at Just the News, that AG Merrick Garland has asked a U.S. attorney in Illinois
in Chicago
to oversee the investigation, and that would, of course, be John Lausch.
Right, and they label him, by the way, as an appointee of Trump.
Well, he was.
Which he was, I know.
Well, he was. Oh, it's fine.
Like, they're just trying to make it sinister.
This was all hands on deck yesterday at CNN and the other leftist talk shows to try to distinguish the FBI's raid on Mar-a-Lago and the need for said raid with what we have learned, and apparently is true. I don't hear any pushback from the administration. It's his lawyers that self-reported to the National Archives, according to the reporting. So the effort to distinguish, and Byron Donalds, Republican congressman from California, had this to say to Wolf Blitzer. Yeah, he still has a show.
I'm wondering why the Vice President of the United States had classified documents outside of the hands of the intelligence community. Listen, it's been pretty clear that presidents do have some classified documents, but the difference between a president and everybody else is the president has the ability to declassify information. The vice president has no ability to declassify information. So number one, what was he doing with classified information in his possession? Number two, why did it take 6 years? And I want Joe Biden left the vice presidency in 2017. So it's taken 6 years for these documents to surface. That is incredibly concerning. And point number three, and this is the one that's most important. Everybody can go back to the Hillary Clinton email saga. We know other presidents have had classified information, but why was there a raid on Mar-a-Lago? But now this story just kind of seeps out and everybody's saying, oh, we just want to get down to the bottom of it. And everybody's giving the benefit of the doubt. A vice president of the United States or a secretary of state or anybody else should not be having classified information, period.
Well, of course, the benefit of the doubt is owed Joe Biden, number one, because he's not Trump. And number two, because I guess the assertion is that he didn't know he had them.
Oh, please. Oh, come on. He was using that office in between the time when he was vice president and president. And tell me he didn't know he had those?
Well,
because he locked them in a closet that was unsecured. There was no camera on them. At least at Mar-a-Lago, they were in an area that there was a camera on them.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Joe Biden deserves the benefit of the doubt here. This is just a routine matter that will be looked at by the Department of Justice and their designee, in this case, John Lausch. And, so no need to make a big hullabaloo about it. No. It's not like it necessitated a raid. And, of course, the difficulties in distinguishing those things.
Yeah, but these were found the day before the midterm elections. Why didn't we know the information before the midterm elections? And would that have made any difference?
Yeah. So the other thing about this, he didn't realize he was in possession of them, and they self-reported once the attorneys happened upon them for some reason. Yeah, those are a lot of questions surrounding that. Well, how did they happen upon them? What was the need to revisit documents that were kept in his private office? And
what did they unlock the closet, Dan?
That's number one. Number two, what was that office used for, generally speaking? Number three, with respect to the classified documents, I don't know, were there any conversations that the president had while he was out of office with foreign representatives, perhaps in business dealings? I don't know, perhaps connected to his family's business dealings where that information was valuable. And fifth, according to Joe Biden's own standard, you just heard him articulate on 60 Minutes there, when he sat down back in the fall. How could you be so irresponsible? Oh, I didn't know they were there. Well, how could you not know they were there? Because, of course, you, as somebody who's responsible, as compared to Trump as somebody who's irresponsible, you would make sure that you and your people meticulously went through any documents that were being retained at your private office to make sure they comported with all applicable federal statutes, right? So the I didn't know they were there excuse doesn't seem to hold much water, both in terms of his own argument vis-a-vis Trump, as well as with respect to that not being a defense to the law. That I didn't know is not a defense to negligently failing to turn over documents that should have been turned over, if indeed that's the case, which it seems to be.
Well, and you might think I'm crazy, but is the DOJ trying to knock Biden out of the 2024 presidential race like they're trying to knock Trump out? Or is this a tit for tat? We did it to Trump. Now, the pressure is on. People are getting on to us that we're a politicized agency. Now we need to do something to make it look like we're not biased.
Phil in Maryville, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, I think the same thing. The Democrats are looking for information on Biden now, so he won't run for president, or they'll impeach him.
Thanks for the call. I don't. Impeachment
does not come
long
from
way
them.
long way from that, and why Democrats would want to participate in impeaching an incumbent president of their own party, sans something that they can't deny, and we've seen how good they are at denials. I don't know that I don't know why they would want to take it that far. It would only do damage to their brand going into 2024. But with respect to, all of a sudden you happen upon these documents and they highlight a certain hypocrisy in this White House, maybe with the suggestion that Biden is only weeks away from saying he's all in and he's a go for 24, maybe. Possible. I mean, since the discovery wasn't, dogged investigative journalists, it wasn't Project Veritas, it was his own people.
Right, his own attorneys.
It's possible they want to sideline him, or they want to, you can keep up appearances that you're going to run again so that you're not a completely lame duck. But don't be interfering with our processes for figuring out who we'd like to elevate to replace you in 24. Maybe there's something like that afoot. I mean, there's always interests within any party that are angling for positioning when it comes to something as coveted as the presidential nomination. So that's possible.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You could also text us at 64636. Type in DA. Got some text messages. Time to raid the Biden residence now? ?
Yeah, right.
And this is a great start. Now get into Hunter's computer.
Well, the House Republicans are going to do that. That's for certain. But, the other thing about this, though, too, and we've seen this in with so many illustrations or so many examples of this, even the FTX thing and all the hand-wringing about the $70 million Sam Bankman-Fried and his cohorts at FTX funnel to the Democrat socialists after they set up a trading platform with Ukraine last fall. I mean, just incredible stuff. But then, you find out that Kevin McCarthy's super PAC was taking big money from the CFO of FTX, who was giving money to both sides. So, if...
Is he going to give that back?
The question really becomes, if you see one side doing something, are you almost assured that the other side is doing something very similar in politics these days? At least with the quality of leadership of the two parties. I mean, that's sort of an additional sad commentary, whether there's skullduggery afoot within Democrat ranks or not. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer.
If you're self-employed and purchase your own health insurance, I have some great news. From now until January 15th, the health insurance exchanges are open again. And even if you've never qualified for a health insurance subsidy before, you most likely will now. The American Rescue Plan expanded subsidy eligibility to millions of Americans who have never qualified before, even to those with high income levels. And this year, you can purchase a multi-state PPO policy, which includes access to Northwestern Medical Group, as well as other teaching hospitals around the nation. Employers who provide small group coverage also have new options, and so do seniors looking for Medicare supplement coverage. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Obamacare, then you need a local expert on your side. C. Stephen Tucker from HealthInsuranceMentors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 25-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than 10 years. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit HealthInsuranceMentors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551.
AM 560. The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Corporations leaving the land of Lincoln at 538.
And what did those fire Pritzker signs really mean? Our big guy has a definition. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
36 degrees, 531. The Justice Department is reportedly viewing classified documents from President Joe Biden's time as vice president found at a Biden think tank office. Congressman Ralph Norman of South Carolina highly critical overnight of the Department of Justice for not taking further action against the president.
Cannot just overlook this as the mainstream media has done with the Bidens. And that's what's so great about what's going on now with our House leadership and the investigation that James Comer is going to have. And hopefully we'll have consequences as well and get to the bottom of it.
The National Archives has referred the matter to the Justice Department for investigation, and the FBI is involved. Around 90% of Californians are under a flood watch. State climatologist Dr. Michael Anderson.
Says each individual storm may not be by itself overwhelming, but the collective nature of it becomes a volume management issue, and you start seeing compounding events occur.
34 million are facing flood risks from torrential downpours and powerful winds. House Republicans are adopting a rules package following last week's historic speaker vote.
On this vote, the yeas are 220, the nays are 213. The resolution is agreed to. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
And now will govern how the chamber operates over the next 2 years. 3 men charged in the deaths of 17 in a duck boat tragedy in Missouri are due in court for hearings today and Wednesday. A trial date is set for next year for former Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan. Madigan and longtime confidant Michael McLean are scheduled to go on trial on racketeering and other charges in April of 2024. The families of 3 women who were found dead inside their sweltering senior living facility in Chicago, all receiving a $16 million settlement. Lawyers for the families of all 3 women say they were discovered last May at the Snyder Apartments after calls for help were ignored by building managers. Governor Pritzker is now in his second term looking for tax relief, he says, and to work to ban semi-automatic guns. That happened in the Illinois Senate as they signed off on an anti-Second Amendment gun ban last night. Republican State Senator Neil Anderson says he said supporting a bill that is a violation of the Second Amendment and right to bear arms is a violation of the elected official's oath. Senate President Don Harmon expects the measure to head to court.
I look forward to working with our partners in the House to pass this tomorrow and to put it on the governor's desk. We'll see you in court.
The House will take up the measure later today. An investigation is underway after a man and woman were found shot to death on Chicago's near North Side. Police say that discovery was made yesterday inside of a home in the 2000 block of South Indiana. Former CEO of McDonald's facing charges. The Securities and Exchange Commission has ordered Stephen Easterbrook and charged him with making false and misleading statements to investors about the circumstances leading to his termination in November of 2019. Georgia back-to-back national champions in college football. Celtics beat the Bulls 107-99. Fighting Illini drop out of the AP Top 25 poll. They visit Nebraska tonight. The news is a service of the AM 560 Advantage, where membership has its privileges. Join today, 560theanswer.com/join. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Make sure that you never miss a day of Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson when you subscribe to the Chicago's Morning Answer podcast, presented by Signature Bank. Listen to the entire show each day on demand with limited commercial breaks. You can subscribe today for free at 560theanswer.com and click on podcasts or search for Chicago's Morning Answer on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Democrats predicted an end to high inflation, but nothing has changed. In fact, food and housing prices are still going higher. Hi, this is Stephen K. Bannon, and I urge you to protect your savings from inflation by diversifying into a physical gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. To see how it works, simply text the word Safeguard to 989898, and you'll get a free info kit on gold IRAs that will explain everything. Again, that's Safeguard to 989898. There's no obligation or purchase required.
What's for dinner? Burgers?
After last week, no thanks.
Avoiding foods due to fear of diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools? It may not be just stomach issues. It could be EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. EPI can cause uncomfortable symptoms because it's a condition where the pancreas doesn't release enough digestive enzymes to break down food. But EPI can be managed. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor about your symptoms. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
This is Jerry Boyer for Townhall.com. According to a number of news reports, CVS recently fired a nurse practitioner whose conscience prevented her from prescribing abortifacients to patients. CVS had previously offered her religious accommodation, as appears to be required by the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. She was considered a good employee and had recently received a performance-based raise. It is also reported that other nurse practitioners were willing to administer the drugs, and so no patients were deprived of any services. So, why the change? CVS was among the corporations pressured to cave into the abortion lobby ever since Roe v. Wade was put in legal jeopardy. The firing was unnecessary and wrong, and it has brought legal exposure to CVS, now facing a lawsuit from the formidable Alliance Defending Freedom. CVS should apologize and change its policy. Other companies should learn from their mistake. I'm Jerry Boyer.
Publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu. You don't need special gadgets to be a hero. With unlimited 1.5% cash back on every purchase everywhere, the Capital One Quicksilver Card makes you the hero of every purchase. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
5:37 Team Hochberg Traffic Center time is the service of Dan and Amy 24/7 around the clock all day, every day. Listen now. danandamy247.com. Metro, Union Pacific Northwest Line train commuters. Delays of up to 15 minutes or more because of mechanical trouble. Train 603 scheduled to arrive in McHenry at 6:46 is on the move, but again, 10 to 15 minutes behind. Stevenson inbound at 25 minutes, 3:55 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. The Ryan, the Kennedy, the Edens all running on time. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Clouds and sun, 44 today, turning cloudy and 34 overnight. 36 right now. Next news at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. America First with Sebastian Gorka, today at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. We'd be remiss if we didn't remark upon bad news that came over the transom yesterday.
No.
And that is the death of Diamond and Silk. Lynette Hardaway was her real name. But we had Diamond and Silk on the show so many times, and, we didn't always agree with them. They were always entertaining, a couple of sassy ladies. And
Diamond's the talker. Diamond's like the Dan of Dan and Amy.
Yeah.
Lady Silk was going, She was, her. But they were sisters. They were a year apart, and... yeah, you're right. They were very entertaining. Do you remember the time they rapped for us?
Don't be messing with our meat, because you know we love to eat. We grill it, fry it, shake it, and bake it, and eat it with our teeth. Yum, yum. Don't forget the seasoning salt, the hot sauce, or the barbecue sauce to top it all off. Don't mess with the cow, because you ain't down. Don't be messing.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And I bought you a T-shirt for Christmas, remember?
I think that was on the occasion of, the Netherlands banning advertisements for meat, and all these Western European countries trying to phase out or limit meat consumption by 2045 to reduce their carbon footprint, and so on and so forth. But, yeah, entertaining. And also, they were subject to the censorship of the big tech world. They got bounced from Facebook, and they came on the show to talk to us about that.
They gave us no rationale. The only thing they told us was that it was unsafe for the community. And my theory is we are two women of color. So how are we and our content, our brand, unsafe for the community? We don't sell drugs. We're not laying out in the streets. We're not no thugs. We don't belong to no gang. So how are we unsafe to the community? It bothers me. It's offensive. It's appalling. It taints our brand. It taints us. As women, and Facebook is supposed to be an entity where they want equality for women. Why are you censoring two women of color, two black women? Why are you not allowing our viewers or our followers and likes to view our content because you deem it unsafe and you can't even give us an explanation as to why?
Among the tributes for Diamond came from President Trump, but also Dr. Ben Carson, writing on their Facebook page, Diamond was an incredible person who truly cared about America. I always enjoyed going on the show because she was always positive, had a smile on her face, constantly reminded people why America is so important and worth saving, and that he and his wife send condolences to Silk and the entire family. Yeah, it's true. I mean, part of their attraction, the attraction to them, how they sprung up in popularity was because they were so unabashedly pro-American, and they were just a lot of fun. Again, whether you agreed with everything they said or not, they were a lot of fun, and they were passionate, and they were pro-American, and they were unapologetic, and that's increasingly rare.
And they added a level of humor to situations. Remember the advice they gave for Thanksgiving when you have to be around that family member who doesn't like Trump?
I don't give a darn if they start talking about what happened last week, what he tweeted yesterday. You come back with, he's your president, he's your president.
Yes.
And at first we thought they were
spent
joking.
Thanksgiving with Diamond and Silk.
Yeah, I mean, but they were serious. They were true Trump supporters, and they were on Fox News, and then they were on Fox Nation, and they served a purpose, and they loved what they did, and they loved the man. So.
Well, we didn't. From the reporting I've seen and the message that Silk posted, there was no indication of what exactly happened. So we don't have a cause of death, which is why it was surprising. I don't know that there was any public disclosure of any illness or anything. But anyway, that's what happened, or that's how we found out what happened. And
she passed away at her home in the state that she loved so much.
We're gonna have to have Silk back on the show at some point here, just to talk a little bit more about that and what's next for Silk. But Diamond and Silk, they were a great tandem. Silk is still with us, and so she'll carry on Diamond's legacy. That was part of her message that she posted, and just a couple of fun American ladies.
Yeah, do you still have the T-shirt?
I do have the T-shirt.
Washed away in the hurricane.
I always enjoyed Diamond and Silk, and we hope you do too. And I know because a lot of people texted me when the word got around that they did enjoy Diamond and Silk. So rest in peace, Diamond, aka Diamond, Lynette Hardaway, her actual name. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Do you suffer from peripheral neuropathy in your hands or feet? Is continual numbness, tingling, and burning pain stopping you from being with your family? Are you unable to play golf or other activities you used to enjoy? Are you concerned about falling, or have you already? Have you tried typical treatments of drugs and therapy and not gotten any better or even worse? There's now a treatment that's already helped thousands improve their neuropathy so that they can get their lives back. Gold Coast Chiropractic now has a cutting-edge natural solution with a 95% success rate to improve your neuropathy right here in Chicago and can be done in the comfort of your own home. A solution that addresses the underlying cause of neuropathy without taking endless drugs with serious side effects. Call today for a complimentary nerve screening in the Gold Coast or Wheaton to see if this treatment can get you your life back. Call 773-524-4164. That's 773-524-4164. Now, another satisfied client of Turnkey.
Hi, this is Bill Peters, Senior Marketing and Communications Director for Green Ladder Technologies in Batavia.
In March of 2021, we received a call from our IT service provider that they were shutting down all IT functions and computer support in 30 days. Our family of companies relies on 100% uptime to maintain all aspects of our businesses, from fulfilling customer orders to managing logistics, payroll, and more. As AM560 listeners, we knew about Turnkey and called them immediately. We needed to transition our servers from multiple companies, our hardware, and data in less than 30 days with zero interruption and downtime. They immediately stepped in and worked with us to avoid a catastrophic shutdown. In less than 3 weeks, we transitioned seamlessly with Turnkey. Today, Greenladder Technologies continues to partner with Turnkey for all of our IT support.
Let Turnkey be the centerpiece for change in your business so you can get the most out of it.
Visit turnkey.pro today. Turnkey.pro.
This is Jerry Boyer for townhall.com. According to a number of news reports, CVS recently fired a nurse practitioner whose conscience prevented her from prescribing abortifacients to patients. CVS had previously offered her religious accommodation, as appears to be required by the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. She was considered a good employee and had recently received a performance-based raise. It is also reported that other nurse practitioners were willing to administer the drugs, and so no patients were deprived of any services. So, why the change? CVS was among the corporations pressured to cave into the abortion lobby ever since Roe v. Wade was put in legal jeopardy. The firing was unnecessary and wrong, and it has brought legal exposure to CVS, now facing a lawsuit from the formidable Alliance Defending Freedom. CVS should apologize and change its policy. Other companies should learn from their mistake. I'm Jerry Boyer.
Publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Tony Dreyfus, founder and president of Metropolis Coffee Company and a proud new customer of Signature Bank. We're a 19-year-old specialty coffee roaster located in the heart of Chicago. Some of your favorite restaurants and cafes serve our coffee. As a small business manufacturer, we understand the importance of working with the right bank, and that's why we made the move to Signature Bank. We were tired of the impersonal service that our large bank had provided. A friend referred us to Signature Bank, and their team was on site to understand our operations firsthand. They provided us the working capital to continue our successful business operations and to fuel our ambitions for innovation and growth. We now have the flexibility to grow at our own pace. That personal touch, you can't find that at a large bank, but we found it at Signature, and we can't thank them enough.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. We've spent a lot of time over the last few quarters talking about the prospect of the U.S. economy being in recession. What about the U.S. culture? Are we in a social recession? And have we been for some time?
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment.
Did you ever read that book, Bowling Alone, Robert Putnam?
I did not.
Talked about the disintegration of American community, the social recession, I guess is another way to describe it. It was written about 20 years ago. At that point, when Bowling Alone was published, the church membership among U.S. adults was at 70%. Today, it's at 47%. The number of adults who are affiliated with a church, synagogue, or mosque. 47, less than 50%.
Less than half the country. Wow.
Something else that's going on, too, that we've talked a bit about, but there's some quantification of it that speaks to what's happening as well as the trend lines. The percentage of 12th graders, so that would be 18-year-olds, generally speaking, who've gotten a driver's license. In 94, that was 85%. 1994, percent of 12th graders who got a driver's license. Okay. 20 years later, 72%. Tried alcohol. 94 was 81%. 20 years later, it was 66%.
Gone on other things.
Gone on dates. 1994 is 83% of 12th graders.
Oh, God, do I even want to know?
And now it's really started to trend in my direction. 58% 28 years later. 83 to 58 going on dates.
Well, they don't do that. I mean, they go to prom with groups of people. They don't do anything. Like they don't man up. I tell them, ask her out on a date. Please, go on a date. Experience life.
Worked for pay.
Oh,
percentage
boy.
of 12th graders who worked for pay in 1994 it was 72%. By 2016, 2014, it was down to 55%, and the trend lines have not reversed in the intervening 8 years. I can tell you that. So, social recession, extended adolescence, and again, there's manifestations of this that we've highlighted. Starting. An obvious one is Obamacare and being on your parents' health insurance to age 26.
That destroyed America.
What does that say about the likelihood that your kid is going to cut the apron strings when they're in 12th grade or shortly thereafter?
Well, that's one of the reasons why I moved out, because after I graduated at Iowa, I didn't have health insurance, so I had to move out and find a job. And that meant moving out of state, but that's one of the reasons why I got I kicked myself out of the house. People stay until they're 25, 26, but you don't even have to live with your parents now. You can have your own place. You can be married and still be under your parents' insurance.
Yeah, all of this, extending adolescence. And so the question is, well, why is that happening? Is that a bad thing? And if it's a bad thing, should we talk about how to reverse it? One commentator basically suggested that the changes have begun long, and I largely agree with this observation. The changes began long ago. There were some hurdles that had to be cleared, but they have been cleared. And you see that in some of the generational data, too. And when you talk about what it means to be an American, and what it means to be an American is part that you're a member of several different platoons of democracy, as Burke called them, right? You're a member of a church. You're a member of a professional organization. You're a member of a social or civic, philanthropic organization. You're on the part of the PTA, so on and so forth. Non-governmental institutions that provide the foundation of civic life in America. But that means you're proud to be an American, and you want to extend the founding principles of the country. Well, if you look at survey data and you start with the boomers and you go to Gen Z, what you see is a 45-degree angle straight down generation after generation in terms of those in each cohort who characterize themselves as proud to be an American. So boomers, it's over 70%. Gen Xers, it's 50, mid-50s. Then you dip, then you're below 50 at millennials, and then you're below 20 at Gen Z. So you don't believe in the idea of America, which is fundamentally what America is, right? It's a big idea. And that big idea is being increasingly rejected by generations as you move from boomer to present. And so it shouldn't be surprising, and not to mention it's being endorsed, the dismissal of the American idea. It's being endorsed by so much of the political ruling class, which necessarily includes religious, civic, philanthropic, artistic, corporate leaders. It's okay. It's okay to be a perpetual adolescent. We've got government programs for that. We've got free stuff to give you, quote unquote, free stuff to give you. We're going to protect you from all of the negative consequences of the decisions you make and any negative words that may be associated with those decisions. The safetyists. We can cocoon you. And it's all the better for us the more young people we cocoon. What's the attitude of the so much of the curriculum in K through 12 education, and what has it been for a long time? What's the culture on college campuses today, and what has it been for a long time? Is it pro the American idea? Is it pro being a participant in our representative republic through these platoons of democracy? No.
Oh, it's buddy benches and how are you feeling? And they just cater to all their emotional needs to the point where I don't think, boys are becoming men.
Yeah, well, I mean, Dr. Leonard Sachs has talked about young people in crisis in different ways, the two sexes, but yeah, it's not just limited to boys, but in some ways it's more pronounced among boys. In some ways it's more pronounced among girls. But the problem is the lethality of the culture. Just going back to this one commentator, I cannot recall the last time I saw a major studio release that portrayed an evangelical Christian as a normal, sympathetic hero, and not as some obnoxious one-note character, or even more commonly as the obvious villain. Likewise, the movies wildly over-portray young adults as college students, and typically elite college students, as ascending the corporate ladder idiotically fast, as singles in major metropolitan destinations, and living in places that are flat unaffordable most of the time. And most importantly, the moral of every movie is that you do you and find a way to be happy. Yeah. The solipsistic culture. Mm-hmm. And so the social recession, perhaps more than a recession, and a recession implies a temporary downturn. This is a hurtling towards the earth, it seems to me. But these markers of wanting to restrain young people from adulthood out of concern for their safety, general fear of the world. I mean, we saw that on display in bright pastels, didn't we, during the pandemic? But as I said before, we've talked about this, the pandemic just provided a platform for more people to see what's actually been going on for a long time. And these data points that we shared underscore that. And so, again, you want to delay adulthood into the late 20s, 30s, later? I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of, frankly, we see a lot of people that have careers and families that don't seem to be able to operate in the adult world, really, and are proponents of ceding their individual sovereignty and their family's future to the state. So that's a sort of, I don't know if that's a social recession as much as a intellectual one, but the two are linked. It's a real thing, though. It's a real thing, and it's going to fundamentally change the kind of society that, people under 40 are going to live in the coming decade or two. I can tell you that.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 6:06, speaking of which, what does it take in this city and state? What does it take? Do we have to see the commissars at the Chicago Public School System actually engage in child sacrifice before anybody pays attention to what's going on in that system? 6:06.
And Illinois is a free state, don't you know? That's what more delusions from the governor. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
A trial date is set for the ex-House Speaker Michael Madigan. A man and woman found shot to death on the near South Side, and two are wanted in bank robberies in the northern suburbs. WIND Chicago News Time is 6 o'clock.
This time it's President Biden facing questions about classified documents. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Records found from his time as vice president at a Washington think tank where Joe Biden had an office from 2017 until his run for president.
How long have they been sitting around? Who had access all of this time? How many people had access.
That's Republican Congressman Michael Waltz. The White House says Biden attorneys found these documents November 2nd, and they were handed over to the National Archives.
The president ignoring questions on the matter, but of course it all calls to mind the criticism laid onto former President Trump last year after FBI agents seized approximately 300 classified documents from his Mar-a-Lago residence. Well, former President Trump shared this, quote, "When is the FBI going to raid the many homes of Joe Biden, perhaps even the White House?"
Fox's Alexandria Hoff. President Biden's in Mexico again today for more talks amid a record surge of migrants coming to the U.S. illegally.
The two presidents reaffirmed their commitment to implement innovative approaches to address irregular migration. Exactly the type of migration many El Paso residents were angry President Biden did not see during his short stop at our southern border this weekend.
Fox's Brooks Singman. It's up to 14 storm deaths in already waterlogged California.
We're not out of the woods yet. We've got more heavy rain coming.
Santa Barbara County Sheriff Bill Brown. There's widespread flooding, thousands of evacuations in and around Montecito and areas prone to mudslides. House Republicans approved new rules, then passed their first bill in the new Congress to repeal IRS funding for thousands of new agents, but that's likely going nowhere in the Democrat-led Senate. They're celebrating in Georgia a second straight college football national championship. Fox 5's Denise Dillon's in Athens.
A lot of folks standing on tabletops, climbing trees, climbing lamp posts, just running around taking pictures.
Georgia obliterated TCU 65-7, the biggest blowout in any bowl or postseason game in college football FBS history. America's
36 degrees, 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. A trial date set next year for former Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan. Madigan and longtime confidant Michael McLean are scheduled to go on trial on racketeering charges in April of 2024. Families of three women who were found dead inside a sweltering senior living facility in Chicago are receiving a $16 million settlement. Lawyers for the family say calls for help were ignored by the building. Sterigenics agreeing to pay $408 million to settle about 800 lawsuits alleging its Willowbrook facility of polluting the air with cancer-causing ethylene oxide. Parent company of Sterigenics says it was in the best interest to settle the suits over time and cost. Governor J.B. Pritzker now in his second term.
The governor took the oath of office Monday in Springfield alongside his wife and children. He joked about signs he saw around the state during the election that said, "Fire Pritzker."
I was concerned about this until my kids pointed out that when people in their generation think something is really cool, they say, "That's fire."
He then defined accomplishments for his first term, ranging from legalizing cannabis to increasing minimum wage, consolidating local public safety pension funds, further codifying access to abortion, and reflecting on his management of the COVID-19 pandemic. For his new term, he laid out some goals, including providing more options for childcare, universal pre-K, and more.
Since I took office, we've increased scholarships by more than 50%. Now let's focus on making tuition free for every working class family in Illinois.
At the Capitol in Springfield, I'm Greg Bishop.
The Illinois Senate has signed off on its anti-Second Amendment gun ban. They passed their version of the proposed measure, which makes a modification from a House bill, so reconciliation will have to happen on those bills. Today, Republican State Senator Neil Anderson says backing a bill, he said, is a violation of the Second Amendment right to bear arms and a violation of the elected official's oath.
All of us are going to raise our right hand and pledge an oath to uphold the Constitution of Illinois and the Constitution of the United States. All of you that are thinking about voting for this today, you should resign.
Chicago City Council is losing yet another member. 26th Ward Alderman Roberto Maldonado has filed paperwork with the Board of Elections to withdraw his candidacy. Maldonado, the 16th alderman who will not return to the council after the February 28 elections. Georgia back-to-back national champs in college football. Celtics beat the Bulls 107-99. Fighting Illini will try and start another college basketball winning streak when they visit Nebraska last night after dropping out of the AP poll. The news, a service of the daily podcast of Chicago's Morning Answer and The Sean Thompson Show. Subscribe free at 560theanswer.com/podcast. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Does this country even represent itself? How it used to be? Have we become so used to fascism, so used to political whores and pimps and open and notorious bribery, that a scoundrel like Kevin McCarthy would even be considered, which goes to show you just how systemic the corruption is in this country.
The Sean Thompson Show, weekday afternoons at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
My friend had his home stolen. The crime is home title theft. It's real. It's horrendous, but it's real, and it's everywhere. Now, luckily, this was just a demo, but I saw how criminals all around the world target American homeowners, and that's why I protect my home with Home Title Lock, and you need to as well. And a thief can simply forge your signature on a legal document claiming you sold your home to them. Homeowners insurance and common identity theft programs do not protect you, but Home Title Lock does. So protect yourself. Just go to their website. It's HometitleLock.com/Sean, SEAN. Verify your home's title is still safely in your name. Then just register your address for a free, no-obligation home title report for your files. That is a $100 value, absolutely free. That's HometitleLock.com/Sean, HometitleLock.com/Sean, SEAN.
Are you a driver of a Ford PowerStroke diesel engine? Tired of taking your Ford PowerStroke diesel in to be misdiagnosed or paying for repairs that don't fix the problem? Well, bring your vehicle to the diesel headquarters, Remke's Garage. The shop is equipped with state-of-the-art diagnostic equipment and highly trained technicians. Take it to the experts. Take it to Remke's Garage. Remke's Garage specializes in Ford PowerStroke, Chevy Duramax, Dodge Cummins, Mercedes Sprinter, and Isuzu diesel engines and transmission repairs. At Remke's, they'll make your vehicle repairs convenient by offering a free commercial loaner vehicle.
Remke's Garage, where you won't spend $1,000 to fix a $100 problem. Call for details and to schedule an appointment at 800-5-REMKES or visit Remke'sGarage.com. Remke's Garage, your diesel headquarters.
6:07. Let's get an update on the roads this morning. The Team Hochberg Traffic Center is a service of Salem Surround, a local digital marketing agency. Go to surroundchicago.com today. West Chicago, an accident. Gary's Mill Road in Purnell this early morning. Tri-State. We're seeing jam-ups developing northbound, right at the Reagan Toll Road, I-88. Bishop Ford slowing up between 111th and the Ryan Merge. Ryan right now is running with delays between 75th and the Skyway. 14 minutes in, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike now showing delays, 26 minutes from 390 into the old post office, and you'll hit the brakes near Manhunt. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with our meteorologist, Steve Williams.
Times of clouds and sun. High today 44, cloudy tonight low 34. A shower in spots tomorrow morning, otherwise cloudy day, high 45. Rain and snow on Thursday, 1 to 3 inches, high 36. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
36 at O'Hare. Next news 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So I was off Friday and yesterday.
Yeah, how did your golf game go? Did you represent? Did you bring home the hardware?
And so this Inspector General report that dropped, CPS Inspector General report that dropped on Thursday of last week.
Yeah, we talked about it because it's infuriating that nobody cares and that no one else has picked up on this story. Not the Tribune, not the Sun-Times, zero. Nobody.
Was waiting for comment from leaders in education, from political office holders starting at the city level, from mayoral candidates at the city level, from state legislators, from statewide officials, either party, both parties.
Pedro Martinez.
The people who are either in charge of the school or other schools, the people who hold the purse strings when it comes to this $10 billion Democrat socialist criminal enterprise known as Chicago Public Schools, waiting. So I sat there and watched while I was off over the last 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen a lot of talk about the latest gun ban and the pageantry of Jelly Belly's second term and all the free stuff that's on the docket to be given away, and the census numbers and the continued exodus from Illinois of people and businesses.
As a CPS parent, I got an email opening it thinking they're going to address this. No, it just said, make sure your son or daughter gets tested for the greater good of the community for COVID before they go back to school on Monday.
So this OIG report, more than 600 adult on-student misconduct allegations just for the 2021-2022 school year. More than 600. More than half of them were substantiated, so that's more than 300. Criminal charges were filed in 16 cases. They include a CPS teacher who groomed and sexually assaulted a 17-year-old student on 3 occasions. The student said that she began to think of him as her friend and therapist, and that he, I'm quoting, touched and groped the student while hugging her, touching her thighs and buttocks under the pretext of removing lint from her clothing. I like the way you look in your jeans, the student recounted the teacher saying. Allegations against the teacher were in part corroborated by text messages on the CPS-sanctioned Remind app, Snapchat records, and a student witness who overheard a conversation between the teacher and the student.
Do you think they're not going to get caught if you're texting?
The OIG found a CPS junior ROTC staff member had sex with a female CPS high school student over the course of a year when she was 16 to 17 years old, providing her with alcohol, asking for her to buy marijuana for him and fellow students. Hundreds of text messages and calls. I'm ready to blank right now. I'm not going to be gentle either. A CPS staff member texted to this high school girl. I'm ready to frack right now. I'm not going to be gentle either. He later, this is all quoting from the report, threatened to kill the student and her family if they disclosed the relationship to investigators.
Mm-hmm. What's his name and what school does he work at?
A CPS vendor, other incidents, and there are many more. You should read this 120-page report. A CPS vendor asked a 4th grade student why her lips were chapped and then stated that the student's lips were chapped because she was performing oral sex.
Yeah, but he said more graphic terms that we cannot use on the radio.
A CPS elementary school teacher who sexually touched a CPS student repeatedly over several years when he was 11 to 14 years old, purchased food and gifts for the student and members of his family, spent the night in the student's bedroom having sex with the student.
How does a teacher get into somebody's bedroom?
So the combination of the sexual predation going on in CPS and the fraud that's being perpetrated apparently on Illinois taxpayers, also documented by the Inspector General, where these schools are purposely recording students as truants rather than transfers for the purpose of their average daily attendance, for the purpose of the money they get from the state. And so, and this is the audit I believe was done for the last year before the pandemic. So this is 3 years old, but instead of 330,000 kids in CPS, we could have 230,000 kids that are actually attending CPS schools. Maybe fewer 3 years removed. That's billions of dollars in fraud that has been committed if the OIG is onto something, and it sounds like he is, billions of dollars of fraud committed against Illinois taxpayers. In addition to this being a school system that does a woeful job of educating children. So when they're not mal-educating them or sexually preying on them, they're disappearing them. And again, no one is interested in this.
No. Reporters even had access to Mayor Lightfoot last night because, she was there begging for Pritzker to love her and give her campaign money. And now no one even asked her about it. It says this is happening under her watch, and nobody cares.
One of the defenses I've heard, this was on NPR, was that this is not inconsistent with the data from other major urban school districts around the country. Well, if that's the case, then we have a problem with a bunch of major urban school districts around the country, which comes as a surprise to absolutely no one paying attention. Honestly, I really want to know what it will take for all the people running around, spending all their time making sure everyone knows, particularly about how much they care about poor minority children. And you have this school system that is largely comprised of poor minority children in terms of the student body. Mm-hmm. This is happening. This has been documented before by the Tribune investigative report on this from a few years ago now. That brought similar numbers to light. And the response is just
crickets.
Well, the response is to deny its existence. It's not crickets. It's this thing, this OIG report, it didn't actually happen. What you're seeing is not what is really there. If we tell you to look past something, then look past it. And that's what everybody does. Despite all of the incentives. I'll repeat the same thing I said when we talked about the Tribune investigative series on some of the same topics. This is a $10 billion enterprise. You want to talk about deep pockets, and think about just people pursuing their financial interests, like trial lawyers. No trial lawyer is interested in gathering up plaintiffs in a class action suit against CPS. When you're talking about the sexual assault of children, I mean, you know the numbers that we would be talking about in terms of a settlement, much less a judgment. All you have to do is look at what's happened to the Catholic churches, the archdiocese, right, in so many communities, so many cities around the country. No interest there.
But
and
if
the
this
parents,
happened in a Catholic church, it'd be breaking news. It'd be in the A block of every station.
And the parents. And I've already talked about the elected officials.
But they're
this
not
is happening.
Can
I finish?
Yes.
I've already talked about the elected officials, and because these are their constituents. And teachers. I know we have this free rider problem in all these government agencies. It's better just to shut up, do my time, and get my pension. So we've got this free rider problem. Really? Teachers, administrators, because I know there are good ones in CPS. You don't want to add anything to this OIG report? You don't want to provide any color, any more context, name any names? Nothing? No one. This is how sick Chicago and Illinois are. I mean, sick. You want to understand how could this once great city and so on and so forth. Forget about corporations leaving. Look at who we are. How can you sit idly by and read these details
and not call your principal of your school and say, are any of these teachers still at our school? Because they don't. As a parent, we can't find out who these people are and where they work, which isn't that a right as a parent? I mean, why does the CTU and the union have more power and control than the parents do? And somebody texted in, it's another.
Why do they? I mean,
we know why.
Spare me.
Well, that's why parents are afraid to talk out, to speak out.
They're afraid of
retaliation.
What?
Retaliation against their kids.
That's all. That's pathetic.
That's not pathetic. I'm a parent. I'm telling you. I
It
talked
is
to my
pathetic.
neighbors who have kids at CPS, and I said, "Why aren't you upset about this?"
You can yell as much as you want. Let me tell you how pathetic that is. I don't care what the rationale is. That is pathetic.
Well,
I'm afraid to speak up
Yep.
about the sexual abuse of children because I'm afraid my junior is going to get a C instead of a B. Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding
That's
you,
this.
Dan.
I know what the excuse is. Stop interrupting me. I don't need your chorus. That is the level of depravity to which this city has sunk. That is the sickness I'm talking about.
If they even believe it in the first place, which some of them that I showed them this, they're like, "No, that's not true. It's not true. We wouldn't. Why aren't they in jail? Why don't we have their mugshots?" I said, "Well, I don't know. That's a very good question. Call Pedro Martinez's office. I've been calling. They've not responded yet. What are they doing?"
16 have been referred to for criminal charges.
Yeah.
So what's the status of those cases? Has anybody even asked that question? That would necessarily be the province of the Cook County Prosecutor's Office.
Mm-hmm.
So where's that? What about the 300 claims that the OIG says have been substantiated? What the hell is wrong with us? I mean it. We're gonna ask. This is where we're gonna start with Willie Wilson when he joins us at 7:00. If you're a mayoral candidate and you don't have the interest, gumption, political courage, use whatever descriptors you want to address this, then who cares who wins the mayor's race? Who cares who wins any of these aldermanic races? Who cares who wins the state legislative races? Who cares who wins the governor's races and the other statewide offices? What is the point? Who cares about businesses that come and go other than you who work for specific businesses that are coming or going? And why should we care about you when you don't care about your fellow man and you don't care about kids who aren't your own? It's okay if kids get sexually abused in schools so long as my kid gets through. Really? That's the Faustian bargain you want to make?
Well, and it's another reason teachers should not be questioning our kids about their sexuality, gender, pronouns without their parents' involvement.
Teachers who, I got 2 years. That's the Faustian bargain you want to make? Your pension to turn a blind eye towards this kind of conduct. And I would mean even the financial fraud. That's bad enough. These graphic examples that are pulled from the OIG's report that give you an indication of what kind of culture exists in these schools that are not schools really anymore anyway, so many of them. Hell, half of them should be shut down. And the focus should be on engaging parents and guardians to apprise them of their options to get their kids anywhere where, number one, they're going to be safe from sexual predators, and number two, they may have the opportunity to actually get an education that puts them on a path to somewhere other than the street. How can we make this bargain? What is a legitimate excuse for this? How do you paper this over this? I mean, I believe it, but a city that has destroyed itself, and it has nothing to do with the buildings and all the other shiny objects. And frankly, to some extent, I'll even agree with the left on this, that when you put kids in this kind of environment where there is no adult protection, much less supervision, much less instruction, And then you're surprised when you have 13-year-olds on the streets carjacking people. We're the ones who have allowed a significant portion of a generation of kids to be destroyed in the school systems we finance. They're done. And then they're on the streets committing crimes, and then they're really done. No one. Prosecutors, public defenders, politicians, parents. No one is saying a fracking word. Greg in Rogers Park.
Hi, Happy New Year to you guys. Number one, as far as the media goes with this, all they are is basically a bunch of nice-looking women that read the news and make the guys look, and the guys be happy. Second, I was a social worker for a number of years. The OIG was pretty effective. I lost my job because I kept calling the OIG and reporting abuse. I went through the same thing here with the state of, with various social agencies and everything. Three, it's about time we really go to work. This reminds me of what happened at Penn State with Jerry Sandusky, and everyone just kind of turned their back. I think it's time now. Whoever saw it should be held accountable, and I think we should land a full frontal assault and go after these son of a guns once and for all. It's disgusting, and it's time to stop and be quiet. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks. You know, this is what should happen. I know what should happen.
I mean, do the parents even know what happened to their kids? In one case, a CPS high school teacher exchanged 4,000 text messages with a female student, including 400 in one day. Can you imagine texting somebody 400 times in one day? I mean, are they being left in the dark too?
Well, they're not in the dark now, are they? Chris and Carrie.
Hey, good morning, guys. This is so disgusting. Well, my wife was in the master's program. I won't say what college, but the majority of those teachers in that program were going for Chicago public school teachers. And she would come home and talk about how horrible they were. They even the English speakers could barely speak the English language properly. She couldn't believe that this was a master's program and that these teachers were being filtered through. And her theory was they're so desperate for teachers in the Chicago public schools, they'll take anybody. And this is, it's absolutely disgusting.
I don't believe that. By the way, thanks for the call, Chris. I don't believe that. I believe it's purposeful. Yeah, you're taking, this is not, we're so desperate for people that want to go into teaching. That's not true. The salaries and benefits are on a cost of living basis the best in the nation. So it's not a pay benefits issue. It's a systemic issue, but that's in any major urban school system. That's not what's happening. What's happening is they are picking, these are like political appointees, so many of these teachers. Yeah, the education students coming out of colleges are the worst students in terms of academic performance. That's just a fact. So let's just get some of this stuff out of the way. I'm not going to do all teachers are heroes thing. If you want to listen to that propaganda, go listen. Anybody else in Chicago wants to talk about this, but that's not real. And we're desperate for teachers, so we have to take anybody. That's another lie. That's another cop-out that people tell themselves and parents tell themselves. And while they decry the system, but they love their teacher, just like we decry Congress, but we love our congressman, pretending that one is not part of the other. That's nonsense. This system is set up purposefully. As a great man once said, it's not broken, it's fixed. It is doing exactly what it's intended to do, which is to be a third-party administrator for the salaries and benefits of the adults in the system. That's what it does. That's what CPS exists to do. That's what it does. And the teachers that are brought in are those that are going to fold in to the Chicago Teachers Union, to that communist organization, so they don their red shirts when it comes time to strike and when it comes time to do precinct work for the politicians of choice. That's the system. The system is predicated on financial fraud. It's predicated on self-dealing. to the extent any kids come out of there prepared for post-secondary work or the workforce, that's a happy accident. Great. We can point to some success stories and write commercials about them to show how diligent we are and how we're beating the odds with some of these kids, and then ignore all the rest of it. Just sweep it away. And we have a willing public and complete civic infrastructure that's willing to help us sweep it away, as we're seeing yet again.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Take more of your calls on this, and we'll get to another example where everybody is culpable, but there's nobody accountable. And this is on the topic of the federal government and the Twitter files at 6:36.
But now into the newsroom we go. Here is Mike Scott.
36 degrees, 6:31. Former President Donald Trump led the chorus of Republican outrage after reports that the Justice Department is investigating how dozens of classified documents were found in the offices of President Biden's vice presidential center. Appearing on Fox this morning, Florida Congressman Mike Waltz says he wants to know if sensitive information was compromised.
These were apparently documents from his time as vice president. So they've been sitting around for 5 years. I mean, how long have they been sitting around? Who had access all of this time? How many people had access all of this time?
The Justice Department is conducting a review. The president's attorneys say they notified the archives and then returned the documents one day after they were discovered. Around 9 in 10 Californians are living under a flood watch this morning, about 34 million facing flood risks. House Republicans are adopting rules packages following last week's historic speaker's vote. It passed along party lines and will now govern how the chamber operates over the next 2 years. The Monday vote was related to concessions that newly elected Speaker Kevin McCarthy made to lawmakers who were opposed to his candidacy until those concessions were made. Opening statements were held Monday in the trial for a man accused of killing 8 with a rental truck on Manhattan's West Side bike path in New York City. Federal prosecutors are seeking the death penalty for Sayfullo Saipov. The American Academy of Pediatrics is releasing new guidelines for the treatment of childhood obesity for the first time in 15 years. The new guidelines emphasize the need for early and intensive treatment of childhood obesity that may include surgery. A trial date is set next year for former Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan. Madigan and longtime confidant Michael McClain are scheduled to go on trial on racketeering charges April 1st of 2024. The families of 3 women who were found dead inside their sweltering senior living facility in Chicago are receiving a $16 million settlement. Lawyers for the families say the women were discovered last May at the James Snyder Apartments. The Illinois Senate is signing off on an anti-Second Amendment gun ban. The Senate last night passed its version, which now needs to be reconciled with a House version in Springfield. Already owned guns would have to be registered with the Illinois State Police. Republican State Senator Darren Bailey expects the measure to be struck down.
You've got to know that the actions that you're taking right now are tyrannous, as my colleague Senator Bryant suggested. You also must know that I and millions of other gun owners in this state will not comply.
The House is expected to take up that measure to reconcile it with its own version later today. Governor Pritzker has signed off on huge pay increases for state lawmakers, signing a bill that provides salary increases not just for the Illinois legislature, but executive branches as well. Authorities say a body discovered Sunday along Chicago's Lake Michigan shoreline has been identified as that of a Gary, Indiana man. Cook County Medical Examiner's Office saying that the body was identified Monday as that of 48-year-old John Puza Jr. His body was found Sunday afternoon. Georgia back-to-back national champs, Dogs over TCU. Best team in pro hoops, the Celtics, beat the Bulls last night, 107-99. College hoops, the Fighting Illini will try to start a winning streak in the Big Ten when they visit Nebraska after dropping out of the AP poll. Also tonight, DePaul hosts Villanova. Loyola is home against VCU, and UIC welcomes Drake. The news a service of Salem Surround. Go to surroundchicago.com today. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dennis Prager sees a mass exit.
California's delegation to the House, based on population, declined for the first time in California history. California was once identified with freedom. This was the place you went to be free. Now, thanks to the Democratic Party and the rest of the left, this is the place you flee to be free.
The Dennis Prager Show. Weekdays at 11, right before Charlie Kirk at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
You know when you start up a motorcycle and you hear it go vroom, vroom, vroom when it takes off? I was losing that. I was losing my energy, like everybody does as they grow older. And I don't want to be tired. I don't want to look tired, and I don't want to be tired. I started using Balance of Nature about 1.5 years ago. Noticed the results immediately, and I went, oh my gosh, this works. This is what I've been missing all my life. I'm loving life actually more than I ever have. I missed my va-va voom. I got it back.
Experience the Balance of Nature difference for yourself. See why Kathy Lee Gifford and thousands of others have had life-changing success with Balance of Nature. Take advantage of our New Year's offer while you still can. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com. That's 1-800-246-8751 and get $25 off plus a free fiber and spice when you use discount code KLG.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out heart-stopping letters, aggressively garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it seem impossible to ever get out of debt. Don't let the tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, the #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in the Fresh Start Initiative, one of the biggest breaks that the IRS has ever offered. If you qualify, you could save thousands. Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, they'll fight to get you the best deal possible. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
It is 6:38. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Inbound Eden, 17, Lake Cook Road to the junction. Kennedy inbound 26, O'Hare to the Burns Circle interchange. Kennedy outbound, disabled vehicle with a left lane block. It's a stalled semi between Randolph and Division on the outbound side. 12 right now to the junction. Inbound Ike, 38, 390 to the old post office. Heavy and slow. Stevenson inbound between Ashland and the Dan Ryan. From 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive, it's a 34-minute commute. Dan Ryan coming inbound at 1695th into the Burns Circle interchange. Tri-State stop-and-go traffic between Wadsworth northbound and Route 173. And we're seeing delays in Gurnee this morning because of a bad accident. Southbound 41, Grand Avenue. Traffic, a service of Discover. We can talk about how with Discover you can redeem your rewards for cash in any amount at any time. Talk about amazing. Learn more at discover.com/redeem rewards. Terms apply. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast, clouds and sun, 44 today, turning more cloudy overnight. 34 and showers tomorrow. 36 right now. Next news at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. America First with Sebastian Gorka, today at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy continuing to talk about that Inspector General report of CPS documenting hundreds of incidents of improper teacher or staff to student conduct, as well as financial fraud on a mass scale, with schools misreporting truants as transfers. Misreporting students that are not attending school as truants when they're not at that school anymore. They're transfers, or they are just out of the system, but continuing to keep them on the books for the purposes of keeping the state school support dollars flowing.
So the real attendance rate isn't 300,000. It could be as low as 230.
100,000 people, 100,000 kids unaccounted for, according to the OIG report. 100,000 out of 330.
And of these 600 cases, these reported cases, about 417 have been substantiated, with 16 criminal charges filed. And I'd love to see their websites. I mean, their mug shots, and get their names and see where they worked. Because as a parent, don't you have a right to that? To know if it's in your school?
It has nothing to do with being a parent. It has to do with being a taxpayer. It's public record.
Well, I think for some parents out there, we'd like to know if somebody's being groomed or sexually molested in our school.
That comes as a surprise to me. I know you think that the only people who talk to CPS parents are CPS parents, but that's not the case. And I'm looking for CPS parents who aren't going to a handful of schools that are paying any attention whatsoever, by evidence of what they're offering in response to these details, which is what?
Where's the protest? Where's the march in front of CPS headquarters?
And by the way, there are other places where there is a reaction from parents when things begin to go awry and questions are met with stonewalling. Like in Loudoun County, Virginia. Another update from Loudoun County, Virginia. Another parent vindicated. John Tegas was arrested at a school board meeting in June of 2021 because the Panjan drums on the school board in Loudoun County didn't like the public comments, so they cut it off and they had Tegas removed. This is how that went.
John, walk with me, please. Walk with me, John. Now! Hey, John, please don't resist. You guys, don't resist. This is an unlawful arrest. I have a First Amendment right. Listen. You do, right? You're right. Okay, thank you. Here's someone speaking rationally. Listen to me. At this point, the meeting is over, right? It's not over. It's not over. We were meeting. If you look.
And so there's 5 cops surrounding him, and then he's arrested. He challenged the arrest. He was found guilty of trespassing by a judge at a district court level in September, but then he appealed it, and Judge Douglas Fleming in the 20th Judicial Circuit in Virginia agreed with him, clearing him of any wrongdoing.
Good.
Fleming found that both that Tegas had a First Amendment right to attend the meeting, and that the now fired superintendent, Scott Ziegler, had no right to declare the meeting a quote-unquote unlawful assembly, thereby nullifying the grounds for the trespassing charge. Unlike the first 2 judges who ruled against my case, Judge Fleming actually made a rule based on state statutes. The first judge stated that since Ziegler didn't feel safe, he could have peaceful protesters arrested. The second judge determined that a person's constitutional right to speech and assembly were not allowed during a meeting recess. 3's the charm, I guess. Yeah, it takes a fight to challenge, much less undo, all that we have allowed to be done, whether it's in Loudoun County or Chicago. But at least in Loudoun County, you have hundreds of parents, mostly left of center, showing up and have been for the last 2 years, leading the parental revolt that put Glenn Youngkin in the governor's office there and spurred many other parents and many other school districts around the country to similarly challenge those who think they have exclusive dominion over their children, inside and outside of the school for that matter. But in CPS, so this happens. My point is, this happens in school districts all over the country, on where issues are much less serious than the criminal sexual abuse of children, than the massive defrauding of state government. But not in Chicago, in terms of a response. No response anywhere from those who were defrauded or those who are the beneficiaries of the defrauding. Nobody says anything. It's a remarkable thing. Tina Joliet.
Hey, good morning, guys. So I have wrinkled a lot of feathers in my, I'm in all these groups about school board elections, blah, blah, blah. And I just basically said to these folks, these school board elections are pointless. And we should be getting these, this is a rescue mission at this point. We have to subsidize tuition and get these kids out of these schools. They're a danger. Public schools in Illinois are irrevocably broken. And I don't think we can't fix them at this juncture, and we can get all the people we want elected to the school board. The problem is immediate. We're at the emergency level now. It will take decades.
But I don't think the two are mutually exclusive, because it may be immediate, but you're not going to have everybody recognize that the water is about to capsize the boat immediately, and so they will not leave. They will not pull their children out. They can't afford to pull their children
Correct.
out. There's not immediate scholarship money in the offing, and so we can say
Correct.
emergency and immediate all we want, but you have to do something internally while you're trying to execute this rescue mission that I agree with you needs to be initiated.
Absolutely. I liken it to, we're sending lifeboats to the Titanic after it already sank. We've got to, it is a two-pronged approach. We've got to get different people on school boards, and we've got to do everything we can to raise money and fund the tuition for these kids and get them out. These schools are dangerous. These are not the schools we grew up with. These are not the teachers we grew up with. We're at that point.
Thanks for the call, Tina.
Got a text message. Perhaps the reason why the CTU pushed so hard to get cops out of school is to protect other CTU members from getting caught.
Maybe. I mean, and also they're just, communist ideologues who are proponents of things like defunding the police, which we know, as every CTU president in recent memory has been, from Sharkey to Karen Lewis to who preceded Karen Lewis, like it matters.
I can't remember back that far.
Jim in Port Charlotte.
Good morning. This isn't just a Chicago problem. This is a national systemic problem, and there's only a few cures for it. And one, dismantle the system from the top down, starting with that scumbag Randy Weingart. Pull your kids out of the school. Collapse the system, just like Saul Alinsky says. Collapse the system and restart a new one. I don't know what else to say, because the only other cure for this is the gallows polls. I mean, this is ridiculous. Pull your kids out of these damn school systems.
Thanks for the call, Jim. We profiled that group of black dads that showed up to that school in, I think, Louisiana, where there were violence problems in the hallways initiated by the students. Students, their sons and other kids are fighting in the hallways. And said, well, we're not going to have that. So the dads showed up and they said, you're not going to be fighting while we're here. You're going to fight me.
Yeah, change the whole atmosphere. And then these, kids that didn't have fathers found father figures in these men, these volunteers.
And so where is that in CPS?
Here's another text message. Union officers that help protect these teachers' jobs should be arrested and charged as accessories to rape.
Well, I mean, it is worth noting that, of course, Chicago school teachers, your union dues are going to defend these people, because obviously they're assigned a union lawyer, whether it's just a professional misconduct hearing or it rises to the level of a criminal prosecution, but they're being represented by lawyers hired by CTU to represent their members, right? As Al Shanker is famously quoted as having said, as soon as kids start paying dues, we'll start representing kids.
Yeah.
One of the most honest statements ever offered by a teachers union president. And so that is whether they can dress it up with their, kids are our future rhetoric all they want. That's their real attitude based on the behavior we see from them. And so, I mean, the Catholic Church comparison, I can't get over the lack of response, even if you don't want to be front line, how you are not beating the door of your alderman's office down, of Kim Fox's office down, holding these mayoral candidates to comment on what is happening and answer as to what they would do if they were the mayor and the de facto head of the Chicago public school system. I just, the lack of interest. You mean whatever the number is, if it's 300,000, 330,000, or it's 230,000, you're talking about a lot of kids, and there was no shortage of appropriate outrage with the sex abuse scandal in the Catholic Church, or sex abuse scandals anywhere. Jeffrey Epstein. And this? Nothing?
Nothing.
In the Me Too era and all of the, because the institution is more important than the kids, right? Why don't you just say that? Why don't people just say that? We have to protect the shield. CPS is too important to too many families. It's where too much bread gets buttered. This is where this is a source of not just dollars and not just jobs, but political power. And we can't sacrifice that. We can't admit to anything because we don't want to see what we take home or the political power we wield diminished in any way. That's the most important thing. And if some kids get sexually abused, well, we're going to break a few eggs.
I mean, we're talking about babies. I mean, a fourth grade female student, a teacher called the female sexy and made comments about her physical appearance and asked another student to find her another student so they could have a threesome. She's in fourth grade. They don't even know what that means.
Don't
God.
they? I think that's part of the curriculum now, actually.
Good Lord.
Frank in Arlington Heights.
Hey, good morning. Well, this problem here, one of your previous callers said people have to collapse the system, pull their kids out. How can they? Too many families have both parents working. How could you pull your kids out and homeschool them? No way that's going to happen. And so this is really a second or third order effect of, our government, our federal government, largely selling the American people out. So many different factors that go into it. Too much immigration, in too quick of a period of time, trade policy. All kinds of different factors go into the degradation of the family. One of your earlier segments, you talked about a social recession. Well, the degradation of the family is part of that. We definitely have had that. And
I know.
How are you going to be able to collapse the system, given you have to have both parents out there working? You really can't do that.
I'm not saying you will. I mean, you obviously would have to the shortest path to affect the most children and families would be to expand opportunity scholarships. But yeah, you're right. However, the question still becomes, for those who are able to send their kid wherever and choose to send their kid to the neighborhood school or a Succop Roma school, whatever, for parents who are part of the system and paying attention, we're not hearing from them either. It's like the Francis Parker parents who speak in hushed tones when, the dean of students goes on and on about dildos for the teenage kids, the teenage girls there. So where are they? I mean, Frank, there is literally no one saying anything.
Well, I mean, part of it, too, is I think that people aren't grown up as much as they used to be generations ago. I mean, I don't feel as grown up as my grandfather would have been at my age, having what he had been through. I just don't.
Well,
We've gone through so much, the Depression or World War II and everything else, and I think that we've just had such a, we lived in Shangri-La for so long, and now they got all these other distractions out there that, I mean, people just aren't grown up. We aren't adults.
Thanks for the call, Frank. I mean, I think there's a lot of truth to that, but I just, you get wind of a report like this that shows systemic abuse.
Text messages.
And again, just thinking about this in the least high-minded way, the incentives of the trial lawyer, the incentives of the politician to moralize. And still nobody says anything. The incentive of the prosecutor to say we're on it. And still no one says anything.
Where's Kim Fox? Yeah.
All the incentives appear, emphasis on appear, to be in the direction of seizing this political or economic opportunity. And yet it's not seized. And you should ask yourself why. Because it's probably a rational, if not moral, decision that these political and economic actors are making. So what is it? Why? Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Spills happen every day in your workplace, anywhere gasoline, diesel, machine crude, or cooking oils are used. These spills not only disrupt workflow production, but are hazardous to employees and the public. You need a team that can come in and clean up that spill and get your crew back to work and remove the ugly, unsightly stains. You need Cabino Environmental Field Services, an environmental response team to the rescue. Using sustainable, all-natural green products, they mitigate the spills and extract the stain from the pavement. The only byproduct is the used oil absorbent that gets recycled as a fuel source. This is one of the most economical, sustainable, and green ways to manage an oil spill. For stains on your residential garage floor, rooftop, patio around the barbecue, parking lot, or pavement around your fuel pumps, Cabino Environmental is available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Call 815-373-5176 or click on Emergency Fuel and Oil Cleanup online at CabinoEnvironmental.com.
Guys, a lot of people talking about testosterone, but do your homework and be sure to go to a provider you can trust. I recommend my friends at Low T Center. That's where I get my levels checked for the past 8 years, actually. Low T Center exclusively specializes in men's wellness. They check all your levels, not just your testosterone, and determine the cause of any symptoms you're having and whether you're a candidate for low T or something else like low thyroid or sleep apnea. Typically, their annual health assessment is completely covered by health insurance, and they check everything, including PSA, your prostate levels, and they check thyroid, liver and kidney function, cholesterol, glucose levels, and more. Low T Center has affordable and convenient options for treatment, including monitored self-inject treatment that ships directly to you each month. So no need to come to the center each week. Make your health a priority this new year and schedule your annual health assessment at Low T Center today. It's covered by most health insurance or less than $100 cash pay. Visit lowtcenter.com to book your appointment online. That's lowtcenter.com. Tell them Dan Proft sent you when you do. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
The word is out. People are abandoning their overpriced wireless carriers and flocking to Pure Talk for the same 5G coverage, but at a fraction of the price. In fact, the average family saves over $800 a year when switching from Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile. And switching is so easy. You can keep your phone, keep your number, or get huge discounts on the latest iPhones and Androids. Right now, you can get unlimited talk, text, and 6 gigs of data for just $30 a month. Or if you still want unlimited data, you can get that and still save a fortune. So make the switch and get the same coverage as the big guys, but at half the price. Go to puretalk.com, type in your address to find the coverage at your home, then enter promo code HALF-OFF, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. That's puretalk.com, promo code HALF-OFF. Switch to Pure Talk and get unlimited talk, text, and 6 gigs of data for just $30 a month, because Pure Talk is simply smarter wireless.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 7:07, businessman and mayoral candidate Willie Wilson will continue this conversation about CPS, tackle the FOP endorsement, and other political matters. Willie Wilson at 7:07.
But now into the newsroom we go. Here is Mike Scott.
A trial date finally set for ex-House Speaker Michael Madigan. The Illinois Senate passes an anti-Second Amendment gun ban. Families of women found dead in a Chicago facility have been awarded $16 million. Sentencing delayed for a Chicago teen accused of making threats against a Central Illinois high school. WIND Chicago News Time, 7 o'clock.
Will the FBI raid President Biden's homes or the White House? I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Former President Trump asked that on social media, reacting to classified documents found at a think tank where Joe Biden had office space after he was vice president. It comes months after the FBI seized classified materials from the Trump Florida resort.
Attorneys stumbled upon these apparently in a locked closet on November 2nd, and now a lawyer for the president issuing this statement, quote, the White House is cooperating with the National Archives and the DOJ regarding the discovery of what appear to be Obama-Biden administration records, including a small number of documents with classified markings. The archives took possession of the materials.
Fox's Alexandria Hoff in California. That's rushing water from flooding caused by heavy rain that is not done falling. Some roads now impassable.
They said to come this way to get on the freeway, but everything's shut down. It was a bad night to drive.
He's in Montecito, where thousands evacuated under the threat of more mudslides. The storm is blamed for at least 14 deaths. House Republicans have passed their first bill in the new Congress to repeal IRS funding that'll go to hiring thousands more agents and employees, but that's likely going nowhere in the Democrat-led Senate. It's up to 1,500 rioters arrested in Brazil after supporters of ex-President Bolsonaro, who refused to concede he lost an election, stormed government buildings, and that prompted counter-protests.
These people have to be punished, says 61-year-old Betty Amin. What those who ransacked Parliament, the Supreme Court and the Presidential Palace do represent is a section of society which doesn't trust Brazilian democracy, a feeling stoked by Mr. Bolsonaro.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. They're celebrating a win for the college football record books in Athens, Georgia.
Beautiful night. Great night to be a Georgia Bulldog. Right?
Georgia repeated as national champs in a blowout, crushing TCU 65-7, the most lopsided FBS College Bowl ever. America.
36 degrees. 7:02 is our time on AM 560, The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. A trial date set next year for former Illinois Speaker of the House, Michael Madigan. Madigan and longtime confidant Michael McClain are scheduled to go on trial on April 1st of 2024. The families of 3 women found dead inside their sweltering senior living facility in Chicago, receiving a $16 million settlement. Lawyers for the families of all 3 women say they were discovered last May at the James Snyder Apartments. The Illinois Senate signing off on an anti-Second Amendment gun ban. The Senate last night passing its own version of a proposed measure, which makes modifications from a bill the House approved last week. So the bill will go back to reconciliation today and will do so in the House. Republican State Senator Neil Anderson says supporting a bill that he says is a violation of the Second Amendment right to bear arms is a violation of any elected official's oath.
All of us are going to raise our right hand and pledge an oath to uphold the Constitution of Illinois and the Constitution of the United States. All of you that are thinking about voting for this today, you should resign.
Candidate for Chicago Mayor Paul Vallas gets an endorsement.
Candidate for Chicago Mayor Paul Vallas is getting an endorsement from the Fraternal Order of Police. The former CPS CEO has faced criticism for his volunteer work for the FOP and its leader John Catanzara when he conducted volunteer work for the police union while it was negotiating its contract with the Lightfoot administration. A spokesperson for the mayor blasted the endorsement, saying Vallas should condemn the FOP's boss's history of hate-filled rhetoric rather than standing with Catanzara and carrying the shared MAGA values into City Hall. In the AM 560 The Answer newsroom, I'm Nikki Whaley.
Sentencing delayed for a Chicago teen charged with making threats against Urbana High School in November. The 16-year-old will be sentenced Friday after she pleaded guilty to felony disorderly conduct last month. Chicago sports, Georgia back-to-back national champs in college football. Best team in pro hoops, the Celtics, topped the Bulls 107-99 in Boston. DeMar DeRozan left with a quad injury. Fighting Illini will try to start a winning streak in the Big Ten, visiting Nebraska tonight after dropping out of the AP poll. The news, a service of the AM 560 mobile app. Listen to AM 560 on your smartphone or mobile device when you download the AM 560 mobile app at 560theanswer.com/mobile. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Says we're jumping to conclusions again.
And right away, people were taking to social media,
People are dying suddenly, don't get the vaccine. They immediately linked this cardiac event to a vaccine, the COVID vaccine, without one shred of evidence that that was the case.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Dr. Willie Wilson, the son of a sharecropper. He left home at age 13 to mop floors and flip burgers, with a vision for a better future for himself and those like him. A future where he could make a difference by creating jobs, by helping the disadvantaged, by giving back. The great city of Chicago needs Dr. Willie Wilson as mayor to bring out its best.
I'm Dr. Willie Wilson, and I approve this message.
Hi, this is Carl Amari.
I'm Lisa Wolf. Join us every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. for all things entertainment on Hollywood 360.
If you love classic radio shows, The Shadow, Jack Benny, The Lone Ranger, Dragnet, Gunsmoke, and many more, we have them for you on Hollywood 360.
We'll also present trivia contests with prizes, showbiz news, celebrity interviews, games, and movie reviews.
So don't miss Hollywood 360 every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
My friend had his home stolen. The crime is home title theft. It's real. It's horrendous, but it's real, and it's everywhere. Now, luckily, this was just a demo, but I saw how criminals all around the world target American homeowners, and that's why I protect my home with Home Title Lock, and you need to as well. And a thief can simply forge your signature on a legal document claiming you sold your home to them. Homeowners insurance and common identity theft programs do not protect you, but Home Title Lock does. So protect yourself. Just go to their website. It's HometitleLock.com/Sean, SEAN. Verify your home's title is still safely in your name. Then just register your address for a free, no-obligation home title report for your files. That is a $100 value, absolutely free. That's HometitleLock.com/Sean, HometitleLock.com/Sean, SEAN.
You know when you start up a motorcycle and you hear it go vroom, vroom, vroom when it takes off? I was losing that. I was losing my energy, like everybody does as they grow older. And I don't want to be tired. I don't want to look tired, and I don't want to be tired. I started using Balance of Nature about a year and a half ago. Noticed the results immediately. And I went, oh my gosh, this works. This is what I've been missing all my life. I'm loving life actually more than I ever have. I missed my va-va voom. I got it back.
Experience the Balance of Nature difference for yourself. See why Kathy Lee Gifford and thousands of others have had life-changing success with Balance of Nature. Take advantage of our New Year's offer while you still can. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com. That's 1-800-246-8751 and get $25 off plus a free fiber and spice when you use discount code KLG.
7:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center Time is the service of the Salem Podcast Network. With episodes from Charlie Kirk, Dinesh D'Souza, many more. Subscribe free, salempodcastnetwork.com. Inbound Edens, 20 minutes, Lake Cook Road into the junction. Kennedy inbound. Accident inbound at Canfield and 33 in from O'Hare. Kennedy outbound. Stalled semi between Lake and Division, causing delays out to the junction. Ike inbound 42, 390 to the old post office. Stevenson in 43 from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. I-57 and the Bishop Ford jamming into the Ryan merge. DuSable Lakeshore Drive, heavy and slow, northbound Bryn Mawr up into Hollywood. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Clouds and sun, high today 44, cloudy tonight, low 34, showers tomorrow, the high 45, rain and snow Thursday, 1 to 3 inches, high 36. Plan with confidence. Check out AccuWeather.com today. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
36 at O'Hare. Next news, 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. It's time to start getting to these mayoral candidates with the primary election February 28th, so just 6 weeks away, so 7 weeks away. Willie Wilson is a candidate for mayor again this cycle. He ran in 2019.
And he had your support pick then, remember?
He's a successful businessman. Yes, I remember who I support. I was the inaugural charter member of Whitey's for Willie back in 2019. Yep. And we've had running conversations on a number of topics over the years, even when he wasn't a candidate. Willie Wilson joins us again to discuss his candidacy in this cycle. Willie, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Dan and Amy. How y'all doing?
By the way, the website, electwilliewilson.com, electwilliewilson.com for more info on his candidacy. So, you got an interesting endorsement the other day, as Paul Vallas got one yesterday. So Paul Vallas gets the FOP endorsement. You get the endorsement of Alderman Ray Lopez, who is really made a name for himself in the city and was a brief candidate for mayor. Made a name for himself as somebody who's been pro-police and gotten into fights, rhetorical fights with Lori Lightfoot about being pro-police. So the importance of the Ray Lopez endorsement and how that should be understood, particularly with Paul Vallas getting the FOP's endorsement when the issue is law and order.
Well, I believe it's just showing that we're trying to, as a candidate, to bring more people together, a coalition of black and brown, white, Asian American, and different people around the city of Chicago, and I think we've done a good job of doing that so far. I've always been pro-police. We have to back and support our police officers. But with Lopez endorsement, we also got about 200 and maybe 300 some Latino ministers that endorse us as well as the Polish Congress of the state of Illinois endorse us, and then the Italian Police Association endorse us as well. So we've been really working on a coalition to bring everybody together, not just one segment of the population of different nationality.
Why do you want to run again? I mean, it didn't work the first time, and right now polls have you showing anywhere between third or fourth place.
Well, but first off, the polls that came out been not the one that is right. But the reason why I want to let's say run again, I mean, like nothing wrong with running and maybe losing one or two. Abraham Lincoln, as you know, ran 21 times before he became president of the United States. I think when you give up, that's when you lose. But when you keep going, you never lose. And so I believe we all we put here to do good. And if we stop, that means good stop. Those who have a hard right path to do good. And so I would never stop. I mean, I'm like 74 now. If I get to be 100 years old, then I'll still be running for something, trying to help people without trying to help myself.
The CPS Inspector General report that came out at the end of last week detailing hundreds of incidents of improper conduct between teachers and staff and students, detailing what could be massive financial fraud with schools recording students that transferred or left the school as just truants to keep their attendance up, to keep the state dollars flowing. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I've always said that the Chicago problem is a mismanagement in terms of budget, corrupt, and things of that nature as well. Once I become mayor, I will have an audit done every 3 to 4 months, independent of every department that is under the mayor office, to keep people honest. You know, if you leave things wide open, that encourages people to do wrong.
Yeah,
but if they know you.
Well, sorry to interrupt, but this Inspector General report is going back a few years, and these findings in this OIG report are not inconsistent with previous findings and previous reporting on arguably a culture of sexual exploitation of children in the system, as well as a lack of financial accountability, even when previous reports have found the lack of safeguards and policies and procedures and the implementation of corrective actions. So it seems to me there's something much more fundamental than, another layer of auditing at CPS. We need something big at CPS, and I want to know what you think that is.
I'd be quite honest with Chicago. Got so many problems. All right, I think that the lack of communication is situation, lack of coming together, talking and working things out together. Because one person, regardless of what department it is, cannot fix it by itself. We in business real well, and we have all different types of problems in business, national, international, you name it. And we get in, we work together with our partners, and we work it out. And I think the same thing has to occur here. Unless you're able to start working together and put checks and balances in place, these things going to always exist. It is not just the first time or the second time. There are going to be plenty more that is out here coming. And I just think that the failure of lack of communication and not working together, not having people that have different community involved to catch all these problems. I would put checks and balances in place.
But here's the thing. Okay, that's fine, checks and balances. I mean, would you expect a school superintendent that you appointed, if it was found that there were hundreds of instances of improper conduct between adults and by adults on students, including of a sexual nature? We don't. Do we need a community to come together? Do we need groups and checks and balances, or do we need leadership at the leadership level to say, "I am stunned by what has been reported by the Inspector General. I am in communication now with Cook County State's Attorney's Office. I am talking to the teachers union. We are going to remove people from this system who pose a threat to children, and we're going to put monitors in. We're going to have police. We're going to do whatever it takes to ensure that the environments are safe and parents can have confidence that these school environments are safe." But we're not getting that.
Yeah. No, I will hold them accountable, and I think they should be arrested, be honest with you. But when I say come together, lack of communication, meaning that there are people working in the department that would love to talk and tell what's going on in those departments and things of that nature, to some of the leadership as well. But if you close them off, then they don't have any incentive to do this. But no, I would certainly, those people should be investigated and prosecuted by the rules of the law and taken care of. I mean, when you're going to take prey on some student and things of that nature, it's lunatic. They are pure lunatic. I mean, to have that to happen, it's still a lack of follow up and checks and balances and things in place to catch some of these things, because somebody else had to know about it.
Right, but would you have the superintendent come forward like, this is a report, and we talk about it publicly, and this is how we're going to solve the problem? Because no one's even returning phone calls when we're asking this superintendent for a response to this OIG report.
I would not. I would have the people removed. I would definitely, superintendent, I would have them removed.
So these people in charge now, like Pedro Martinez, Willie Wilson is the next mayor of Chicago. He's gone, and that leadership team, and this is going to be a fight front and center for all to see, with whoever stands in your way to reforming that system. Is that fair? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
So
right.
Pedro Martinez is gone for sure.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt about it. And a lot more people underneath, because he's not the only person that knows about it. There's a lot of layers in that, that do know about it. unless you got communication, it's just like business. You know, like I have people employed over in China and Australia and things of that nature, but we communicate very thoroughly. Somebody out of those people that work for me and in the United States knows about what's going on, but if we didn't communicate, we wouldn't catch it. You know, so I would definitely have them arrested and put out of there, and we'll put checks and balances in place to make sure nothing like that happened at all. And I do remember back a while back when that was coming on, it's just like swept under the rug. But that's got to do with corruption and people trying to cover one another butts, you know?
Yeah.
All right. So how would you tackle crime in Chicago? Because since 2023 began, we've had 6 carjackings a day.
Well, taking the handcuff off the police off and put them on the trucks, number one. Giving them the freedom to, with common sense, to take then, if someone takes and rob somebody right in front of you and police officers there, you have the right to chase them down or to chase them in the cars and things of that nature as well. Take some of these policies, the rules and regulations off the police officer with common sense to make sure that they're not afraid that if they arrest somebody that they're going to jail themselves. We have to break that up because see, it ain't about black and white. Crime has no color. It's happened to everybody, you know. And we were ordinary. I still believe in the scenario I had last time. I still believe that those 4 police and superintendents still would go into effect and split the Chicago in 4 different ways and hold them accountable to that, integrating the cars and things of that nature. But I think the biggest problem is, though, police officer is afraid if they do something that they get arrested themselves. Not enough common sense in play here. And there has to be respect to those, our men and women who go out every day and protect us. You know,
so police
we got to treat them right.
So police, including whoever you would select as superintendent, would know that they have the mayor's backing, that they could be confident that the mayor is not looking for opportunities to backstab them or to jackpot police officers. Obviously, you're not going to defend anybody that did something wrong. Nobody's saying that, but
right.
you would have civilian leadership backing the police if you were mayor. That's the point.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. We're going to back the police officer. You got good and bad and everything, but the same token is that you don't need police officers turning their back against you.
What about? I mean, there's the argument that we're 2,000, maybe more now, 2,000 police officers down from where we need to be. Would there be an effort by you as mayor to make up for that manpower shortage, if you perceive it that way?
I think we had to do. We would have to bring back the people that retired, hire more police officers, put some training course and things like that in place, and hire people, get police they off days. And I frankly tell you this much: I just think our first responder, like police officers, need to be paid more. I just really do. I think they're underpaid. These are people who protect our lives. I think there may be about 12,000, I guess, or whatever. The number goes up and down, but should be about 14,000, I believe. We'll bring those back, and after retired police officers come in and give us a hand as well, and we'll get the morale up. That people are going to want to be proud to wear the uniform again of the police officer.
And what are you going to do?
Give them respect.
Yeah. What about the homeless situation? I mean, we now have tents popping up near Michigan Avenue on Chestnut. I mean, it's everywhere. We're becoming slowly, but surely we're becoming the next LA or San Francisco.
I've always said this too about the homeless situation. I don't know. I heard a number that said there was about 25,000 homeless people, and I go out. I took about, I don't know, last year or so, $500,000 went out and gave to people that was out there and are homeless, and a lot of them, wasn't out there because they just wanted to be out there. But I still say this here, that we got a lot of vacant apartment and buildings that is here. Why can't we go in and clean them buildings up and let the homeless people live in there? We got a lot of vacant schools. Why can't we go in there and clean those schools up and refit them, things of that nature, and let them stay in there? You know, why can't we find the dollars and do management the right way to give these people a place to stay? One lady told me up on Ashland, the tent, they've been staying out there for 4.5 years, her and her husband. So that particular day I went by, and I think I gave $350 to her and $350 to him. And she said, you know what? She said, now I finally can get a place to stay and take a shower after 4.5 years. My husband, I can get a 1-bedroom apartment because you came along. And in 4.5 years, we've been staying out here.
So,
yeah.
I'm sorry. You want to go ahead? Finish, Willie.
No. I was saying so there's no need to have homeless people out here. They have a place to stay, and everybody out there. Here again, you have school teachers and lawyers out there. They're living out there. That used to be successful. You got people who COVID-19 came. And they may be struggling with bills and things of that nature, but when COVID-19 came, they end up out there. Who got skills, you know? And so we got to do something about that, you know?
Every candidate has like a big question, like here's your vulnerability or here's your challenge. And it seems to me your challenge is there are people who don't think Willie Wilson can do this job. Like you're not up to the job. I think it has a lot to do with, frankly, how you talk, and I think a lot of people know your story. Maybe not everybody does, but I wonder what you think about that and how you would address that. Because you've made more money in business than every candidate in the field combined by a factor of probably 10. So you have managed to be wildly successful in the business world in this country, and that's something. That's a real thing. And I'm not trying to be your PR agent here. I just think that's a real thing.
Yeah.
And I don't think you get credit for it. And I think you have trouble translating that success into the sort of standing that other very successful business people get or have when they run for office, and like being a successful business person is a big credential. It doesn't seem to me like you get credit for having that credential, and I wonder if you are thinking about ways to better leverage that to advance your candidacy.
No, let me just say this. I'm not running for a paycheck. I'm not even taking a paycheck. Give it away, all right? I've helped thousands of people every day of my life and continue to do so. If I wanted to, Dan, to go to the best school in the world, hire the best people in the world in terms of language-wise, I could probably hire 1,000 teachers to do that, all right? But because of the world, there's so many people out here that don't have hope, that can't get to school or cannot make it through. I'm the person that helps set the example and say that, look, you can be successful. If for whatever reason you haven't been to school, whatever reason you had to drop out, for whatever reason that you not can talk right, it doesn't matter, because like 98% or 95% of the world, people, haven't been able to get a high school education or a college education, some of that nature there. I put people first, and for those people who say that, and I always remind them of this here, and I say, look, I signed the front of my check, and they signed the back of theirs. Mm-hmm. So, and the very people I tell that, one lady came and said the same thing to me, and when she said that, the next 5 or 6 months or 3 months, she had to come to me and ask me for some money. I think I gave her like $10,000. Her business was in bad shape. She had to come to me and ask me for money, and I gave it to her. I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud of the way I talk. I don't want to change nothing else but try to help more people. That's all. And for those people who's out here, can't make it, let me represent the disadvantaged people, the middle class, the people who don't have anything, and let me represent them and help them and say, hey, look, don't be ashamed of who you are, how you talk, who you be around or what you wear, because you can make it.
All right. I mean, I'm not your political consultant at large either, but I think that last-minute riff is a campaign commercial. There's a campaign commercial in there somewhere. I know that. Willie Wilson, electwilliewilson.com is the website. Willie, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you. Talk to you.
Thank you. God bless. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line. Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 7:37, time for our Tuesday talk with Ted Dabrowski, all things Illinois policy related. Much to discuss, 7:37.
Oh, yeah. But now let's get straight to it. Here is Mike Scott.
36 degrees at 7:30 on AM 560. The Answer. The Justice Department reportedly reviewing classified documents from President Joe Biden's time as vice president, found at a Biden think tank from years ago. Congressman Ralph Norman is criticizing the Department of Justice for not taking action.
You cannot just overlook this as the mainstream media has done with the Bidens. And that's what's so great about what's going on now with our House leadership and the investigation that James Comer is going to have. And hopefully will have consequences as well. And get to the bottom of it.
The National Archives has referred the matter to the Justice Department over the documents reportedly turned up at the Penn Biden Center. Around 90% of Californians are under a flood watch, 34 million facing flooding risks.
Just each individual storm may not be by itself overwhelming, but the collective nature of it becomes a volume management issue, and you start seeing compounding events occur.
A parade of rain has triggered flooding, mudslides, and debris flow. House Republicans have adopted a rules package following last week's historic speaker vote.
On this vote, the yeas are 220, the nays are 213. The resolution is agreed to. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
It will now govern how the chamber operates the next 2 years. 3 men charged in the deaths of 17 in a duck boat tragedy at Table Rock Lake in Missouri are due in court for hearings today and Wednesday. It happened back in July of 2018 when an amphibious boat with 31 on board capsized and sank. The families of 3 women who were found dead inside a sweltering senior living facility in Chicago receiving a $16 million settlement. Sterigenics agreeing to settle with those filing suit against it, $408 million to settle about 800 lawsuits that allege its Willowbrook facility of polluting the air. The parent company of Sterigenics says it was in its best interest to settle the suits. The Illinois Senate signing off on their anti-Second Amendment gun ban. The Senate last night passed its version of the proposed measure, which makes modifications from the House bill approved last week. So now that bill needs to go to reconciliation today. Governor Pritzker has also signed off on pay raises for state lawmakers that were rammed through last week. It was snuck through by the House and then the Senate. It's not just increases for the Illinois legislative offices, but executive branch leaders as well. Georgia back-to-back national college football champions after a win last night. Best team in pro hoops, Celtics, beat the Bulls 107-99. DeMar DeRozan left with a banged-up quad. Fighting Illini will try to start a winning streak in the Big Ten when they visit Nebraska in college hoops. The Illini dropping out of the AP Top 25 poll released yesterday. The news, a service of the Daybreak Insider podcast. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Charlie Kirk explains the consequences.
You are now seeing several uniparty candidates say, I'm going to go caucus with Democrats. By having a uniparty, it would basically effectively destroy the United States House of Representatives being in the Republican direction.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
It's Reveille. Over the last week, numerous governors, state legislators, and federal office holders have been sworn in to represent we the people. These elected officials govern in a time of highly divided government. In the states, Democrats hold 26 governorships, Republicans 24. In 2020, those numbers were reversed. In Congress, control of the two chambers is divided by very narrow margins. These narrow splits indicate two things. First, because of gerrymandering, only a very few seats are truly competitive. Parties have created districts where they pick their voters, knowing voter party preferences are very difficult to move. Second, people are physically sorting themselves politically by moving to areas that align with their values. In the latest migration numbers, Democrat-led states of California, New York, and Illinois lost the most population, while Republican-led states of Florida and Texas gained the most population. Folks may not be moving just for a new job or lower taxes. A Trafalgar Group survey found that 10% of Republicans and over 9% of independents say they plan to move in the next year to a region in which they are more politically aligned. Our country is divided. And we're divided because the truth about a myriad of policy issues isn't being discussed. Energy, defense, taxes, COVID, illegal immigration, family formation, and debt. These are issues that Americans should align on. Our nation is at risk if voters don't figure this out. Until then, the population will sort itself politically. I'm Jeannie Ives. Be informed, listen to my podcast, and sign up for my newsletter at breakthrough-ideas.com. That's breakthrough-ideas.com.
If you're self-employed and purchase your own health insurance, I have some great news. From now until January 15th, the health insurance exchanges are open again. And even if you've never qualified for a health insurance subsidy before, you most likely will now. The American Rescue Plan expanded subsidy eligibility to millions of Americans who have never qualified before, even to those with high income levels. And this year, you can purchase a multi-state PPO policy, which includes access to Northwestern Medical Group, as well as other teaching hospitals around the nation. Employers who provide small group coverage also have new options, and so do seniors looking for Medicare supplement coverage. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Obamacare, then you need a local expert on your side. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 25-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than 10 years. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551.
You don't need special gadgets to be a hero. With unlimited 1.5% cash back on every purchase everywhere, the Capital One Quicksilver Card makes you the hero of every purchase. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
7:37, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Inbound Edens, 23 minutes, Lake Cook Road to the junction. Accident right shoulder on the inbound Kennedy at Canfield. It is 54 minutes from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Eichen, 67 from 390 into the old post office, and you're dealing with two accidents, one inbound at Harlem, one inbound in the left lane at Sacramento. Stevenson inbound, it's an hour from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan in 25 minutes, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Route 53 accident southbound 53 right at the Jane Addams toll road. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Clouds and sun, 44 today. It's 36 right now. Next news at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey.
Insert Democrat socialist here.
Runs the Democratic House floor for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois, but you can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when. You're moving out. I said, when you're moving out.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. That theme music means it's time for our weekly confab with Ted Dabrowski, president of WirePoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Big day yesterday as The state of Illinois inaugurated human butter cow for his second term. That would be Governor Spalding.
Yes, and it was a big fanfare. They had fireworks inside. They had Bruno Mars. The couple had their first dance. You know what they danced to? Because I'm sure you don't care.
Eat It?
No.
Looks like we made it.
Oh, yeah, that was their first dance.
Yeah.
But the two lies, because I watched it so you didn't have to, his speech, he started out, I don't know if he was trying to be cute, but it's just more delusional lies from the left. You know those fire Pritzker signs? And if any of you have driven south of I-80, you saw them everywhere. Well, guess what? He saw them too, and he was a little concerned.
I was concerned about this until my kids pointed out that when people in their generation think something is really cool, they say, that's fire.
Dad, you're embarrassing us.
Yeah, I didn't say
so
that.
I want to take this moment to thank everyone who put up those very encouraging signs.
I love it when
So out of
politicians attempt to impersonate a human being.
But Dan,
attempt to present a personality.
I don't know if Illinois is a free state. I mean, it's just what the same talking points Governor Newsom used during his inauguration.
Illinois, we have power and we have hope, and a genuine goodness that is rooted in being the place in this country to which all people can come and live free.
You felt like we've lived free the past 3 years there?
All people can come, that's true, although more people are going than coming, aren't they,
Yes.
Governor? Again, Illinois losing 140,000 net last year, July to July. Now, Illinois legislators voted themselves a 17% pay hike to $85,000 a year for a part-time job, which was completely fair because we lost some ground to our blue state counterparts in places like New York. They were able to drive 180,000 people out, and they got a 30% raise. So 180,000, 30% raise, you tear it down. 140,000, you drive out of your state, you get 17% bump. That seems fair to me.
You predicted that, though, remember?
Oh, well, this is the point. If you're in the incredibly shrinking blue America, the way that you ensure job security and the ability to vote yourself raises without any concern about retribution politically is you just drive more people out of the state, because who's leaving? People who actually want to live in a free state that also features some level of political sanity. Places like New York, Illinois, California don't feature that. And so the worse we make it, the better it gets for us. And all is right in blue America. Incredibly shrinking blue America, but blue America nonetheless. For more on this, Ted Dabrowski joins us. Ted, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy. Yeah, the flood of extremism continues, and I think it's got to just play out. If you watched his speech, he's promising more free stuff, right? Free college, free preschool for all that stuff, and more goodies to come. And he's going to try to finish his gun ban and strengthen the abortion laws, and this will be the ideal place for people to live.
Strengthening abortion laws. What are we going to, like, infanticide up to the year of 5? How do you strengthen them when you've got abortion on demand all 9 months, taxpayer funded?
Well, you make sure that if things change at the federal level, things stay the same here. So I guess that would be it.
Well, one of the other things you do, though, which has been suggested, is for people who are visiting Illinois to get an abortion, birthing people. I don't want to be, too specific. I don't want to exclude anybody. Birthing people come to Illinois for an abortion. Let's put them up in a hotel at state expense. Let's feed them at state expense. Let's provide we can continue to go on and on to attract more birthing people to have their abortions here.
Yeah, and that's precisely what they want and what they're doing, and it's across the board the same on everything that's going on. So it's happening. I think we can only watch extremism keep going until it goes so far that at some point, we keep talking about at some point, whenever that is, even the center left says, "What the hell happened?" Right, and that's when perhaps the change can happen, if ever.
Well, when you watched yesterday's inauguration speech, 25 minutes long, did it feel as if he was running for president, seeking higher office to you?
Well, I watched the New Hampshire and part of the Florida speeches that he gave, and those were unabashed presidential run speeches. This one didn't feel the same, but I think he is. I think he's certainly got his eye on it, and he wants to be able, and this is part of why he's completing some of the things he's doing, is he wants to be able to run on that platform and be strong about it, like he's been in those speeches he gave in Florida and in New Hampshire. He wants to go all in, with the gun ban and all those things. For him, it gives him more power to speak up, which makes it, I think, fascinating face down between him and a guy like DeSantis.
And that's why he was on the House floor, but he was on the House floor in the middle of the night to get that photo op. I was there when we passed stricter, gun rights and a banned assault weapons, so that he could use that, I think, for a political ad for president.
Yeah, I mean, why not? And then
yeah, that really distinguishes him. Everybody is for gun bans. Everybody is for abortion on demand all 9 months. Everybody is for calling women or trans men birthing people. I mean, there is no daylight between any of these candidates. They're completely uninteresting, and unfortunately for Jelly Belly, he is not the most attractive candidate of the field of would-bes to replace Biden. So whatever. The good news is that he's going to continue to do his great work in Illinois, at least for the next 2 years in the run-up to running. Ted, James Freeman, writing in the Wall Street Journal, talks about this boring story, leaving the land of Lincoln. He talks about big companies leaving Illinois, and Tenneco, the auto parts manufacturer that was like Force Base, is going to Michigan. And he talked that there's some talk about how Allstate sold off its corporate campus and now just has this one little building up there in Lake County. And, people like you and James make a big deal about it, but it's no big deal. David Collis, who's a professor at Harvard, I said. I hope you heard that. It's not a big deal. Corporate headquarters have become much less important than they were 20 years ago. So Lori Lightfoot and Pritzker and all the Dem socialist politicians who have shrugged their shoulders as these big companies have left, they're right, and you and people like James Freeman are wrong. Corporate headquarters don't matter.
Yeah, if you want to talk about just corporate headquarters, well, that's one thing. But if you count it, if you look at everything else that's happening in Illinois and in Chicago, you start to add them all up, and that's what a smart person would do. So, David Collis at Harvard may have made his comment, but when you take the number of people who are leaving, I mean, think about it this way: Texas in the last decade grew its population by 4 million people. Right, that's like a third of Illinois in a decade. We barely held ground. We lost 18,000 in that decade. Now we lost over 200,000 in the first 2 years alone. Think about if you're a corporation trying to expand. Do you want to have your investments in a state that's shrinking, or do you want to be in one that's growing and thriving in this pro-business? It's a growth model. That's where you want to be, and you see that. Rivian has its EV plant. Sorry, they have the EV plant here, but they're spending $5 billion and some 6,000 new employees in Georgia. Stellantis, rather than building a battery factory here, is building it in Indiana, $2.5 billion. The numbers are huge, and we're losing all that, and all those states are gaining it. So we can keep ignoring it and all that, but it's true. It's happening. It's a slow boil sometimes, but
we got a casino coming. It's going to be fine. We have a casino coming to Chicago. That's fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah, and you can't ignore the cannabis revenues have done really well. So
yeah, exactly. So
smell pot everywhere.
Cannabis and the casinos.
Light it up and put it on pass, and let's just get on with it already. Stop all this crying. But one thing that James Freeman points out may be of interest to some people, not Illinois voters, but just people that have an interest in public policy. The Allstate thing. Yeah, one of the things Allstate is doing by shrinking its corporate campus is allowing most of its 5,400 employees up around Lake County to work wherever they want. So maybe they don't want to work or live in Illinois, and that's 5,000 people that are probably doing pretty well working for Allstate that are going to take their investments, so their buying of homes, and their sending of kids to school, and everything else that one does. They're going to take their business somewhere else, and so 5,000 here, 5,000 there, 140,000 here, 180,000 there, and pretty soon you're talking about real population loss.
And that's precisely how it works, right? And it's the two sides of it, and that's what people forget, especially people talking about this. We lose people who are frustrated, whether it's the taxes, the jobs, the crime, the sex scandals, whatever it is, right? We lose people. But as this Wall Street Journal and other periodicals show, put Illinois in the bad light. Well, there's going to be a lot of companies who wanted to maybe expand into or thought about expanding to Illinois who said, I'd rather go somewhere else. So the expansion or the lack of expansion, the lack of people moving in from Missouri to Illinois or from Iowa to Illinois, all that so it's a double whammy, more people leaving and fewer people coming in. And that's how it snowballs. And I think that's the big risk. Who's going to want to come here as fewer people live here, as the economy is not as good, as jobs are not as plentiful, as pay is not as good, houses are more expensive, and of course the tax bill is huge. Why come here? So that's what people outside of Illinois will say, and that'll hurt us as well.
Something else I know that doesn't matter, but we'll go through it anyway, just for the pro forma nature of doing so, because I know a lot of people consider themselves fiscal conservatives here. It's kind of funny. The Truth in Accounting has put out their annual best and worst states in terms of their fiscal stability. And as per usual, Illinois is in the bottom 5. They're so-called sinkhole states. New Jersey has the highest debt burden on a per taxpayer basis, followed by Connecticut, and Illinois comes in at 48th out of 50. So, I mean, again, I know we've always had balanced budgets under Democrat governors because they said so. And I know that $250 billion in unfunded pension liabilities is not a big deal. And I know that the money that Pritzker borrowed is not a big deal. And I know the problem with the unemployment insurance program, not a big deal. I know none of the money things are a big deal, but I just note that because who knows? I'm not a fiscal conservative like the ruling class here, and I'm not, a policy genius like the people in office here. But maybe someday that debt burden is felt in a way that really compels people to leave even in bigger numbers than they are on an annual basis right now.
Well, the numbers are so big that they're hard to understand, and people aren't sitting around thinking about the size of the pension debts and what's the right discount rate to determine how big they are and all that. What they do know is that the property taxes keep going up and they feel it, and when you look at the numbers, so you take the wonky look and you add them all up, nobody has as big a debt as we do with New Jersey and Connecticut. We have massive debt. And if we're going to pay those pensions, because it's all pension and retiree health care for government workers, if we're going to pay those debts down over time, as the government promises, well, then there's only one thing to do. So either you can get a federal bailout. If that happens, well, that's one way. But the other way is just to tax people more because they've got to come after people with money to pay those benefits.
Totally agree. Let's do it.
And that's it. And so you can be whatever camp you want to be in. The numbers are massive. They're coming after you, and that's why people leave. And it shows up in their home values. It shows up in their tax bills. It shows up in lousy schools. It shows up everywhere. It becomes kind of decrepit, and that's the path we're in.
Yeah. No. I hope he finally makes these fat cats like you and your friends on the North Shore to pay their fair share. I'm hoping for that. One other thing too, I thought was humorous. I thought I was reading Babylon Bee, but it turned out to be the Tribune. They had some commentary about regionalism and regional cooperation, and let's not be competing for moving a corporate campus from Oak Brook to the West Loop, or from moving corporate headquarters from downtown to a leafy suburb. Let's the city and the collar counties, let's all get together and work together as one for the greater good. It's funny because this is sort of an evergreen editorial that has no connection to the real world or to this sinking ship of state called Illinois, where everybody is just trying to hold on to anything that floats for their parochial purposes. But hey, it's a nice gesture. It's a nice sentiment,
Yeah, maybe we can even do that with the nearby states. Remember they tried that? Let's have that same policy with Indiana. Then maybe we can share more with the others.
Yeah,
I think it's a mess. It's silly. It's silly. That's all I can say.
And I know you guys are going to be on this because basically I think when it comes to issues where the core institutions to prop up the ruling class are jeopardized in any way, it's basically left to us on this program and you at WirePoints to address them. We've been talking about it all morning. We will continue to. The combination of the sex abuse scandal and potentially a massive financial fraud within the Chicago public school system.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I was able to do a radio show yesterday on this report, the OIG report, and this flood of sexual harassment and abuse at CPS. And look around, like you said, who's going to report on it? Where is everybody? And it's not surprising that the Sun-Times or the Tribune isn't reporting on it. To be fair to the Tribune, they did break this stuff, back in 2018. But nobody's reporting on it now, and it's just a signal, or it's just the same old thing, right? Everybody's got to cover each other's butts, and nobody wants to get in life with bad graces. It's a election time, so that we're all going to work together, whatever it is. But they're not going to talk about it. But it's when you combine, you combine all these things. You have to combine. This is not a sexual abuse issue. This is they don't teach the kids how to read, right? We talked about it. 1 out of 10 black kids can read. We allow the crime to go rampant. We don't punish bad behavior. We have all the corruption. We have this teachers union that is the most militant, most aggressive, most, I have to say, nasty union in the country. Mm-hmm. Put all that stuff together, and it's no surprise that you've got a flood of adult on student sexual abuse. No surprise.
Oh, and by the way,
nobody's going to do anything about it.
Yeah, and by the way, hey, in the suburbs, you may want to check this out too. In DuPage County, which is a blue county now, 57% of DuPage County public high school students failed the 2022 state English exam. Scores fell 15% from 2019. So they fell 15% during the pandemic. More than half now of DuPage County public high school students failed the 2022 state English exam. All those great schools and great school systems in DuPage County. Boy, I just love it. I just really
Dan,
love it.
I've tracked it across the state. Everybody's collapsing, and it's right. The demand for excellence in education is falling everywhere in all the suburbs, all over the places. There's very few pockets that are trying to keep up with. I'd just say an excellence of merit, an achievement. It's everybody's getting soft, and it's going to hit all the good areas as well as the bad areas.
Ted Dabrowski, President of WirePoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Ted, thanks as always.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
It happens every year. Winter. Delivering and receiving supplies and getting people where they need to go can be impossible. Keeping your business's doors and gates working properly to keep out the extreme weather is a major concern. Your business can't afford a loss of income or productivity. Be ready. Call Industrial Door Company of Chicago, Inc. for your commercial door maintenance and security tune-up now. You can't always plan when your doors break down, and it always seems to come at the least convenient time. Industrial Door Company will ensure your doors, grills, gates, and dock equipment are working to specification and give you advice on how to increase the life of your doors. See a range of products and services at industrialdoor.com. Call 847-258-5620. Their team will be there before the extreme cold weather causes financial losses for your company and assist in your time of need. Since 1982, the Industrial Door Company of Chicago, Inc. takes care of your doors so you can take care of business. Service and installation positions available. Muscular work for thinkers. Apply at industrialdoor.com.
So, how's it going with your New Year's resolutions? Not so great. Are you truly committed to trying something new, or was it all just talk? Things that seem so doable on New Year's Eve are getting tougher, aren't they? Here's the secret. Developing a new routine. Make your New Year's resolutions part of your everyday routine. Find a time that works for you, say yes to exercise, and stick to it. The pounds will come off. Same goes for your blood pressure. If it's too high, check out my friends at 120 Life. 120 Life is the natural juice drink that helps lower your blood pressure without the side effects of pills. One tiny 8-ounce bottle is all it takes as part of your new daily routine. Just say, I will drink 120 Life every day. The rest just happens. Go to 120life.com. That's 120life.com and order their 2-week trial pack. Order now and enjoy their risk-free money-back guarantee. Use the coupon code DAN to save 10%. 120 Life, a resolution in a bottle. We need more stuff like this.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Biden's classified docs and McCarthy's speakership. We'll talk about both with KT McFarland at 8:08.
And Dan Crenshaw tries to apologize. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
A trial date set for the ex-House Speaker Mike Madigan. Man and woman found shot to death on the near south side. WIND Chicago News Time under partly cloudy skies is 8 o'clock.
They're going to get even more rain this week. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Not the forecast they want in already waterlogged California.
Very, very intense. It almost doesn't seem real.
Unbelievable. It's very scary.
They're among thousands out of their homes.
Santa Barbara and Montecito, unfortunately, having evacuations and rescues because of the rushing water coming down off of those mountains.
That's Fox Weather's Robert Ray in another hard-hit area.
This is Capitola Beach here, strewn with debris just south of Santa Cruz. Timber, logs, bottles, you name it, all over this sandy beach. As many businesses have been affected, homes flooded out.
These storms blamed for at least 14 deaths. A federal prosecutor in Illinois has been appointed to investigate classified documents found in an office Joe Biden used for a few years after he was vice president.
The Biden administration is cooperating with the National Archives and Department of Justice. That's according to President Biden's special counsel in response to Obama-era documents found at the Penn Biden Center think tank.
Fox's Ryan Schmelz. This just months after the FBI seized classified materials from the Trump Florida resort. Republican Congressman Michael Waltz echoed something the former president wrote on social media, asking on Fox,
"Where's the FBI raid? Where is this big show of force to make sure there's no other classified documents there? Was that folder and that box of documents the only one?"
Well, now that Republicans are in charge of the House, they passed their first bill of the new Congress.
Repeals funding for the IRS to hire 87,000 new employees. Top Ways and Means Committee Democrat Richard Neal says Republicans aren't looking out for middle-class Americans.
They don't want a fairer tax administration. They think it's bad for some of their supporters.
The legislation does not have bipartisan support, is unlikely to advance in the Senate.
That's Jared Halpern. America's listening to Fox News.
36 degrees at 8:02 on AM 560 The Answer, and good morning. I'm Mike Scott. A trial date set next year for former Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan. Madigan and longtime confidant Michael McLean are scheduled to go on trial on racketeering charges April 1st of 2024. The families of 3 women found dead inside their sweltering senior living facility in Chicago are receiving a $16 million settlement. Lawyers say the women were discovered at the James Snyder Apartments after calls for help were ignored. The Illinois Senate has signed off on an anti-Second Amendment gun ban. The Senate last night passed its version of the proposed assault weapons ban. It's a modification from a bill the House approved last week. State Senate President Don Harmon says he is now up for the legal battle. The House is expected to take up that measure when they return later today. Governor Pritzker has signed off on massive pay hikes for state lawmakers. The governor announcing yesterday he signed that bill that not only provides taxpayer-funded increases for members of the Illinois legislative branch, but the executive branch as well. An investigation is underway after a man and woman were found shot to death on Chicago's near South Side. The discovery made yesterday inside of a home in the 2000 block of South Indiana. And authorities are searching for 2 men wanted in 2 armed bank robberies, one yesterday at the Fifth Third Bank in Northbrook and 30 minutes later at a Fifth Third branch in Evanston. Chicago sports. Celtics over the Bulls last night, 107-99. Fighting Illini will try to get a Big Ten win streak going, visiting Nebraska tonight. The news service of the AM 560 store. Go to 560theanswer.com/store. 8:04, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Stuart Varney, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Small business owners were feeling less optimistic about the economy in December. The National Federation of Independent Business Optimism Index declined last month to the lowest level since June of last year. Those surveyed were concerned about the economy, rising prices, and hiring difficulties. GE Healthcare, which recently was separated from General Electric, is predicting business will continue to grow in the year ahead. It's seeing supply chain challenges easing. Demand for the company's products and services is improving, though inflation is still a factor. Shares of Virgin Orbit are losing ground after its launch from the UK failed. Shares of Virgin Galactic, which plans to provide commercial space travel, also are lower. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
8:05, a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Brandon Tatum explains the strategy.
I think I have the diagnoses of how black people get tricked all the time by Democrats. The Democrats have not done anything that makes any sense for the black community. They don't care. They told you what you wanted to hear to take advantage of you. All they want is your vote. All they want is power and control. And they're going to do whatever they want to do after they get it.
The Officer Tatum Show. Weeknights at 7, right before Jay Sekulow at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
Democrats say that high inflation would go away after the Fed's rate hikes. But month after month, the numbers prove nothing has changed. In fact, food and housing prices are still going higher. Meanwhile, Biden is still finding ways to print more dollars. Hi, this is Stephen K. Bannon, and I urge you to take action to protect your savings from inflation. How? By diversifying your current retirement funds into a physical gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. To see how it works, simply text the word HEDGE to 989898, and Birch Gold will send you a free info kit on gold IRAs. This 20-page guide will answer all your questions about using gold in your retirement account. This is the best way to stop your purchasing power from being stolen by Democrats like Joe Biden. So text HEDGE to the number 989898. That's HEDGE to 989898 to get your free info kit on gold. There's no obligation or purchase required.
Are you growing your manufacturing team this year and need new employees? Turn to Monarch Technical Services. They've been leading the Chicago staffing industry for manufacturing and engineering since 1987. You'll appreciate their vetting process. They meet every candidate in person to interview and test for specific skills. Monarch assesses experience by using Blueprint, Shop Math, part measurement, and CNC program exams. Their quality skills assessor was once a plant manager who worked on manufacturing equipment, so he recognizes who has the skills to fit each job requirement. Monarch Technical now offers a 30-day free trial with any day one direct hire. This allows you to make sure direct hire employees are fitting in before fees are paid. And they have a unique payment option which allows the finder's fee to be paid in 6 equal monthly payments. So if you're growing your manufacturing team this year and searching for exceptional talent, contact Monarch Technical Services at 847-342-1221. That's 847-342-1221, or online at monarchtechnical.com. That's monarchtechnical.com. Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson here. And if you're a small business owner or make the marketing or advertising decisions for your business, then listen up.
Our annual Food for the Poor campaign is underway, and this year we're helping to raise money for children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean who are desperate for access to food.
Millions of people, including many children, are suffering because of food insecurity. They simply don't know where they will find their next meal.
Here's how your business can be part of the solution. Become a Food for the Poor business benefactor. Just make a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor, and AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air right here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you.
And through the generosity of your business, you'll be helping to feed more than 70 children for a year.
To take advantage of this deal, just call Anjanette Natkowski at 847-472-8951 or go to 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor.
My friend had his home stolen. The crime is home title theft. It's real. It's horrendous, but it's real, and it's everywhere. Now, luckily, this was just a demo, but I saw how criminals all around the world target American homeowners, and that's why I protect my home with Home Title Lock, and you need to as well. And a thief can simply forge your signature on a legal document claiming you sold your home to them. Homeowners insurance and common identity theft programs do not protect you, but Home Title Lock does. So protect yourself. Just go to their website. It's HometitleLock.com/Sean, SEAN. Verify your home's title is still safely in your name. Then just register your address for a free, no-obligation home title report for your files. That is a $100 value, absolutely free. That's HometitleLock.com/Sean, HometitleLock.com/Sean, SEAN.
It's 8:10. Let's get an update on the roads in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center. Inbound Edens, 26 minutes. Lake Cook Road into the junction. Delays from Toohey down to Montrose. Kennedy inbound accident. Right shoulder at Canfield. It's an hour from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Ike inbound right now. Accident being cleared inbound at Sacramento. 71 minutes. 390 into the old post office. Stevenson, 52 minutes from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan right now checks in at 31 minutes, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Traffic is service of Dan and Amy 24/7 around the clock. All day, every day. Listen now, danandamy247.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Times of clouds and sun. High today 44, cloudy tonight, low 34. A shower in spots tomorrow morning, otherwise cloudy day, high 45. Rain and snow on Thursday, 1 to 3 inches, high 36. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
35 at O'Hare. Next news at 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. When President Biden appeared for a hagiographic interview, does 60 Minutes do any other kind when it comes to Democrat socialists? This was back in September, and he was given the floor to express his grave disappointment.
It's classic.
His shocked conscience over the classified docs at Mar-a-Lago.
When you saw the photograph of the top secret documents laid out on the floor at Mar-a-Lago, what did you think to yourself, looking at that image?
How that could possibly happen, how anyone could be that irresponsible. And I thought, what data was in there that may compromise sources and methods? By that I mean names of people who helped, or et cetera. And it's just totally irresponsible.
The totally irresponsible standard. Well, he must be
the breathlessness
just
of it.
Beside himself this morning.
Oh, yeah.
Yesterday into this morning, after it was made public that back in November, officials in his orbit found classified docs in his private office that he maintained after serving as vice president, and went to the National Archives with them. The National Archives then turning around asking the Department of Justice to investigate those classified docs. No raid needed.
Well, they were in a locked closet.
No raid needed.
Yeah.
Evan Perez of CNN, even he, the national justice correspondent at CNN, couldn't look past the obvious comparison.
But that said, right, I mean, I think the context that I'm certain you're going to hear in the coming hours, certainly from former President Trump's team, is that you can see how he ended up where he ended up, right? That How can you prosecute, which is something obviously that is being considered by the Justice Department right now. There's actually a special counsel looking into whether to bring criminal charges in this case. How can you consider bringing charges against Donald Trump when something like this could have happened to Joe Biden? I think.
Yeah, and don't even get me started on Hillary Clinton while we're at it.
Oh, yeah.
For more on this, pleased to be joined by our friend Katie McFarland, former First Deputy National Security Advisor, President Trump, author of Revolution, Trump, Washington, and We the People. KT, incredibly irresponsible was the standard that Joe Biden applied in analyzing the documents at Mar-a-Lago. I assume he'll apply that same standard to himself.
Well, dream on. No, I think that what this shows is that the Justice Department has been weaponized against conservatives, against former President Trump, against any opposition. And if you think that they're going to do to Joe Biden and his classified documents what they did to President Trump and his, again, dream on. So I think what this shows me is it's time for the House of Representatives to form a special committee, a special select committee, to look into the abuses of power of the FBI and the Justice Department and whatever masters they're reporting to, whether it's the Biden administration, whether it's Democrats, whether it's only to themselves. When I was just starting out in government in the 1970s, there was something called the Church Committee hearings, the Church Tower. Those were two senators, Republican and Democrat senators, who investigated the abuses of J. Edgar Hoover's Justice Department and also of the CIA. What was the CIA up to? Were they fomenting coups, et cetera? And it revealed an awful lot about both intelligence agencies, particularly the CIA. And it led to pretty significant and massive reforms. So it's time to do that again. It's time to figure out and find out whether the people that we entrust with enormous powers, secret, police state powers of investigation and prosecution, have somehow slipped over to the side of becoming persecution. And so I think it's important that Republicans now control the House, and I do think that they need to go to the next step and create a committee and bring this all out in the open. It never would have been discovered. The abuses of power would never have been discovered if it wasn't for Elon Musk releasing the Twitter files, where there's now proof that there was collusion between the Justice Department, the FBI, social media. Now, in that case, it's over COVID and vaccines. But I think once you start opening this can of worms, you'll see that there's a lot more abuse of power.
Well, if the DOJ was politicized and on Biden's side, why would they make this public and take this case up on the documents, which took 6 years to surface, by the way?
Right, but I don't want to get too far into the weeds, but where was this found? So the Washington Justice Department and the Washington FBI, they're the guys who are all politicized. It's the other parts of the FBI around the country. Those are really good people. I mean, those are people who join the FBI for a good reason. They haven't been politicized the way that the ones in Washington have as they climb up the greasy pole of power. And so I think part of it is to be explained by that. The other part of it is, frankly, it's in your face. They're not going to prosecute or bring charges against Joe Biden. But it's an in-your-face, the same way that Hunter Biden going on Air Force One, going around the world with his father, going to White House receptions and dinners, that's an in-your-face. Everybody knows that he was corrupted. Everybody knows now, even the Justice Department, not the Justice Department, but even the media admits that Hunter Biden laptop is real, and yet they don't care. It's in-your-face corruption.
Now, I don't want to go full Tom Clancy here, but is there a suggestion, too, that there may be some political skullduggery afoot? Of course, there have to be people within the party ranks that recognize Joe Biden is not prepared to run again, and maybe they want to slow down any announcement he's likely to make about running in 2024, or they want to start to close in on him in terms of pressuring him to make sure he doesn't get too far afield when it comes to thinking about 24?
There's probably an element of that in it. I do think at the end of the day they're going to try to push him aside, and the sooner they do it, the better, because if they wait until the very end to sort of somehow that Joe Biden doesn't run again, then you're kind of stuck. The Democrats are stuck with Kamala Harris because she's going to announce that she's the heir apparent, and if it happens really late in the game, it's difficult for any other Democrats to get in a primary, get into a significantly raise money, become primary candidates, et cetera. So I think that the major guy who could challenge Joe Biden for the nomination is Governor of California, Gavin Newsom. He's already said, well, I'm not going to run if Joe Biden's going to run. So maybe there is something to it, but I don't think it's gathered a full head of steam yet. I do think it will, though, during the course of the year.
Yeah, but the DNC would be shooting themselves in the foot because Kamala Harris, they know she can't win on a national level. There's
Totally.
no way. I mean, she's an embarrassment.
Totally, Amy, you're so right. That's why the sooner they announce, sooner they get Joe Biden to step aside, the more time it is for other candidates in the Democrat Party to emerge as significant challengers. The longer they wait, the more they're stuck with Kamala Harris. And Amy, you're absolutely right. There's no way she's going to win election for dog catcher, much less president of the United States.
President Biden, Mr. 10% there, made a quick run through El Paso over the weekend because he's serious. He's all in on border security, as you know. I wonder this act that's not getting a lot of attention because of the photo op he did over the weekend, which is the end of last week, the Biden administration announcing they'll grant an additional 30,000 visas a month to Venezuelans, Nicaraguans, Cuban, and Haitians if they apply from their home country. This is, I guess, their grand solution to stop the influx at the southern border. But Mary Anastasia O'Grady had a good piece about this in the Wall Street Journal, which is we've seen this act before from dictators in this hemisphere, and it's essentially an extortion play by the dictators on America. And this usually happens when a Democrat's in office. It happened, Castro did it to Jimmy Carter, and now we've got Maduro and others doing it to Joe Biden. Do you agree with her that that's what this is, and this is a bad move to offer these additional visas to those countries?
Yeah, it's bribery, right? It's pay us off. This is what the dictators of those countries are saying. Pay us off, or we're going to send you. We're going to help send you a lot more migrants to your border. The way President Trump approached it was, we're cutting off aid right now. And unless you keep your people there, unless you prevent that massive migration of people, we're never going to give you any aid again. So it kind of flips it on its head. But the whole thing with the Biden administration and President Biden going to the border, having ignored it for 2 years, he's terrified. They're all worried that they're going to have these hearings. Republicans are now going to have hearings on the safety of the border and the fact that the Biden administration, by just walking away from it, pretending it didn't exist, has effectively turned over control of the southern border to the human traffickers and the drug cartels. That's who's running the border, not U.S. border agents, not the U.S. government. It's the drug cartels. And so I think that's why President Biden was sort of pressured into showing up at a photo op. And as we all seen, the photo op was, it's called Potemkin Villages. They kind of swept it clean, made sure there were nothing bad looking here. And so Biden, whether they're trying to fool Biden and he really doesn't understand that there's a problem, or whether he does understand and they're all thinking they can fool the American people because they have the Democrat-controlled media on their hands, I don't know. Either way is pretty bad.
Well, Biden did see a sanitized version. I mean, he didn't even meet with any of the migrants that were there.
No.
What migrants? There are no migrants.
Oh, yeah.
Here.
Oh, they're all in the second ward right in front of that church, but he didn't bother. And they tried to clean up some of the garbage. But what can they do about Mayorkas? Because he lied in front of Congress and said that the border was secure.
You start having hearings and get these guys under oath where there's obviously a lie, and then you can start impeaching them. The one thing I've learned in having worked in the Nixon, Ford, Reagan, Trump administrations is that there's only so much oxygen in the Oval Office. And if the House of Representatives with a whole myriad of committees can bring them to heel over, the censorship at Twitter, the Department of Justice overreach, the Hunter Biden laptop, the Afghanistan debacle, the border, they're all going to be so preoccupied defending themselves and defending themselves probably against each other that they're not going to have time to do a whole lot of more bad stuff. So I'd like to see the next 2 years be completely consumed by investigating these guys, while at the same time, people who are running for the Republican nomination can stake out their policy positions so that by 2024 in November, you can go to the American people and say, okay, here are Republican candidates. They're terrific. They're running on this other policy. Or you want these other guys, either the old guy who's corrupt or all the new guys who are corrupt.
Well, to the extent that occurs, that will be at least in part predicated on Speaker Kevin McCarthy's leadership. You wrote a piece about said Speaker for Fox News. A lot of histrionics and hand-wringing, but, I mean, that's attendant to everything in D.C. over the 15 votes it took to get him across the finish line. But you suggest that doesn't mean that he's going to be a weak speaker.
He has an amazing opportunity if he's smart enough to seize it. And it's what I call the crazy boss scenario, where it's a negotiating tactic, and we used it in the Reagan administration, the Trump administration. Henry Kissinger used it negotiating the end of the Vietnam War. Vladimir Putin's using it right now. It's to say, my boss is so crazy that I can't possibly go along with a compromise you're suggesting. And here's why that's effective now, and it wasn't potentially a while ago. Kevin McCarthy has such a narrow lead that everybody knows that if he votes or supports big spending bills, he's out of a job. And his adversary, or the person he has to, the person he has to stand up to, is no longer President Biden. It's no longer the Senate Majority Leader, Chuck Schumer, Democrat. It's now the Senate Minority Leader, Republican Mitch McConnell, because McConnell is just historically known as a big spender. He's the ultimate king of pork. And so the problem that McCarthy is going to have is Kevin McCarthy is going to be in the House. He's got his he's got his very weak majority. And the Republicans in the Senate are going to say, hey, look, you got to go along with these big spending bills, these omnibus spending bills, because it's in the interest of keeping government going, it's in the interest of compromise and civility. And now Kevin McCarthy can say, I can't do that.
Right.
I mean, I've got this crazy boss. They're going to kick me out. So while the beef about Kevin McCarthy always was that he wasn't a strong guy, that he couldn't stand up to bullies, he's now got a crazy boss theory. He doesn't need a big backbone because he's back against the wall. Now, if he's smart enough to use it, he'll just tell McConnell and the others, no, I can't budge.
Yeah, you go talk to Scott. You go talk to Scott Perry and Lauren Boebert, right?
Yeah, you go talk to those. I got those crazy bosses right here, and they won't let me do it. So we'll see. If he isn't smart and if he doesn't use that strategy, he's out of a job.
Do you appreciate what Matt Gaetz did and Boebert and holding out just to get?
Look, I'm a big believer. If I were in Congress right now, I'd be in the Freedom Caucus because those are the only people who are standing up against this massive spending.
I agree.
For the last 20 years, Republicans and Democrats alike have taxed away, and they've expanded the size of government. The Republicans did it after September 11th by creating a national security state. The Democrats did it after 2008 and the financial crisis. And now they're all doing it because of COVID, right? It's more and more government, bigger and bigger government, more and more power over every aspect of your life. And the Freedom Caucus, those handful of members of the House of Representatives are saying, enough. We can't keep doing this. This is how countries and empires decline, is when they spend themselves into bankruptcy. And if you get to the point where the FBI is used to go a secret army to go after the American people, opposition, to go after free speech, if you get the IRS that's going to come after the American people for, not selling their cars and paying a tax, then you really do get to the point where you're in a total surveillance state. So I really admire what they've done.
She is Katie McFarland, former First Deputy National Security Advisor to President Trump. Her book, Revolution, Trump, Washington, and We the People. KT, thanks as always.
It's a pleasure. Thank you both.
Thank you. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, it's Amy, and MyPillow is excited to bring you their biggest bedding sale ever. Get the Giza Dream bed sheets for as low as $29.98. A set of pillowcases for only $9.98. Folks, they look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me, which is crucial for my busy schedule. So trust me, these sheets are ridiculously comfy. Rejuvenate your bed with a MyPillow mattress topper for as low as $99.99. They also have blankets in a variety of sizes, colors, and styles. They even have blankets for your pets. Get duvets, quilts, down comforters, body pillows, bolster pillows, and so much more, all with the biggest discounts ever. MyPillow is also extending their money-back guarantee until March. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201. Use promo code Amy, and you'll get huge discounts on all MyPillow bedding products, including those amazing Giza Dream bed sheets for as low as $29.98 while quantities last. And don't forget to use promo code Amy for the best possible discounts available.
Start your new year off right by finally losing that weight. Schedule your consultation with NJ Diet today. Their scientific approach will ensure that you lose fat quickly and safely. NJ Diet uses your hair and saliva samples along with their bioenergetic scans to personalize natural solutions and supplements that balance your hormones, where the side effect is weight loss. You'll shed a contractually guaranteed 20 to 40 plus pounds in only 40 days. Then MJ Diet uses DNA testing to help you keep it off. MJ Diet is all natural. No shots, no hormones, no surgery, and no prepackaged foods. Full supervision is provided every step of the way, and you even get the doctor's personal email and phone number. With locations in Skokie and Oak Brook or from anywhere with live online video consultations, lose 20 to 40 plus pounds in only 40 days guaranteed. Call 855-5NJ-DIET. That's 855-5NJ-DIET. Or schedule your consult today at njdiet.com, that website, njdiet.com, and lose the weight for good.
It's Jesse Kelly here. I can't afford to lose 30% of my 401k or IRA again, and I'm assuming you can't either. Call Oxford Gold. Securing your IRA or 401k with real gold and silver is a portfolio protection plan, and Oxford Gold has made it easy as 1, 2, 3. One app, one call, and you pick your precious metals. That's it. You now own precious metals. Call Oxford Gold today to learn more about the 1, 2, 3 protection plan. 833-404-GOLD. 833-404-GOLD.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. Your business and your money are in good hands with Signature Bank. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Nick Philippus, co-owner of Joe Donut and a proud customer of Signature Bank. We're a locally owned artisan donut shop that focuses on chef-made small batch and craft donuts. We have 7 locations around the Chicagoland suburbs, with an 8th location coming soon. After opening our original stores in Glenview and Niles, we came to Signature Bank for financing for our new Mount Prospect location. From PPP and material delays in construction, Signature Bank was flexible and truly a banking partner that a small business like ours hadn't experienced before. Even their fraud department was able to stop a $30,000 fraudulent check from clearing our account. That allowed us to focus on selling donuts, knowing Signature Bank had our back.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Eric was way behind on his taxes.
I owed a lot of money to the IRS, almost $15,000. I tried to make payments.
The IRS wasn't satisfied with Eric's efforts, so they came after him full force.
They're coming to put a lien and a hold on all my income, my home, my car. I was just overwhelmed at what to do.
Then Eric called Optima Tax Relief.
When Optima Tax got involved, the calls would stop, the threats would stop. It was easy like 1, 2, 3.
Optima Tax Relief is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, and their team of expert tax professionals took care of Eric's problem.
I owe $15,000, and now my debt is clean. I don't owe anything.
Take Eric's advice.
If you have a tax problem, you need to call Optima Tax now.
Call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com. AM 560. The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 8:38, we'll talk to our friend Jim Perry about where you should hide your money in ahead of the coming recession. That's at 8:38.
All right, good. I'll call my accountant. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
36 degrees, 832, 200,000 without power in California. That state getting slammed again with rain and severe storms, forcing mass evacuations in Santa Barbara County.
The entire community of Montecito is ordered evacuated and evacuated now.
It comes up as about 90% of Californians are under a flood watch. Classified Obama-era government documents were found in a private office used by President Biden between 2017 and 2019. Oklahoma U.S. Senator James Lankford comments on what he sees now as a major double standard.
President Biden, when he was talking about former President Trump having classified documents, he called it irresponsible and unbelievable.
An attorney for the president says a number of documents were discovered on November 2nd and immediately handed over to the National Archives. Former President Trump is accused of refusing to return government documents after the National Archives spent a few months negotiating to try to get them back. The White House is moving forward with a proposal today that would lower student debt payments for millions of Americans now and in the future. It's offering a new route to repay federal loans under far more generous terms. The Democrat president is moving forward with this repayment plan as his one-time debt cancellation faces a likely thumbs down before the Supreme Court. Denver this morning putting a cap on the time illegal immigrants can spend in emergency shelters in that city. They will only be able to stay a maximum of 14 days. A trial date is set for next year for former Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan. Madigan and longtime confidant Michael McLean are scheduled to go on trial on racketeering charges April 1st of 2024. Illinois Senate signing off on an anti-Second Amendment gun ban. The Senate passed its version of an assault weapons measure, which makes modifications from a bill the Illinois House approved last week. That bill now goes to reconciliation. Governor Pritzker signing off on huge pay hikes for state lawmakers. The governor announcing yesterday he signed a bill that provides taxpayer-funded salary increases for members of the Illinois legislative branch, along with big increases for the executive branch. Authorities say a body discovered Sunday along Chicago's Lake Michigan shoreline has been identified as that of a Gary, Indiana man. Cook County ME's office says the body has been identified as 48-year-old John Puza Jr. His body found Sunday afternoon. Georgia back-to-back national champions in college football after last night's win. Celtics beat the Bulls 107-99. College hoops tonight, DePaul and Villanova. Loyola takes on VCU. UIC welcomes Drake. Northern Illinois and the MAC against Central Michigan. The news, a service of the podcast of Chicago's Morning Answer and the Sean Thompson Show. Subscribe free at 560theanswer.com/podcast. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher says we're jumping to conclusions again.
And right away, people were taking to social media, people are dying suddenly, don't get the vaccine. They immediately linked this cardiac event to a vaccine, the COVID vaccine, without one shred of evidence that was the case.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
You know when you start up a motorcycle and you hear it go vroom, 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 and it takes off? I was losing that. I was losing my energy, like everybody does as they grow older. And I don't want to be tired. I don't want to look tired, and I don't want to be tired. I started using Balance of Nature about a year and a half ago. Noticed the results immediately, and I went, oh my gosh, this works. This is what I've been missing all my life. I'm loving life actually more than I ever have. I missed my va-va voom. I got it back.
Experience the Balance of Nature difference for yourself. See why Kathy Lee Gifford and thousands of others have had life-changing success with Balance of Nature. Take advantage of our New Year's offer while you still can. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com. That's 1-800-246-8751 and get $25 off plus a free fiber and spice when you use discount code KLG.
The following is a paid political announcement.
I'm Dr. Willie Wilson, and I approve this message.
Illinois' population loss was the third worst amongst U.S. states from July 2020 to July 2021. 2,400 businesses in the Chicago area will never reopen due to the COVID-19 pandemic. As mayor, Dr. Willie Wilson will work hard to restore Chicago by lowering taxes to keep people in the city, helping small businesses get back on their feet, and expanding access to infrastructure. Dr. Willie Wilson, leading Chicago to a better tomorrow.
I approve this message.
When you're looking to make your business bulletproof, what comes to mind? Trustworthiness? Accuracy? Truthiness? Well, that's not even a real word. In today's competitive business landscape, considerations like trust, attention to service, accuracy, and knowledge are critical. So is cost, and finding the right balance is important, especially where your business insurance, employee benefits, and executive compensation needs are concerned. For bulletproofing your business, remember DSP Insurance Services. DSP is family-owned and has provided comprehensive risk management solutions and strategic excellence across industries for over 40 years. Business owners continue to partner with DSP because they offer the robust services of a national broker, yet a personal touch that is harder than ever to find these days. Contact DSP Insurance Services for a business and risk audit today. Visit online at dspmybusiness.com. That's dspmybusiness.com. DSP Insurance, your outsourced risk management department since 1981.
Democrats say that high inflation would go away after the Fed's rate hikes, but month after month the numbers prove nothing has changed. In fact, food and housing prices are still going higher. Meanwhile, Biden is still finding ways to print more dollars. Hi, this is Stephen K. Bannon, and I urge you to take action to protect your savings from inflation. How? By diversifying your current retirement funds into a physical gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. To see how it works, simply text the word HEDGE to 989898, and Birch Gold will send you a free info kit on gold IRAs. This 20-page guide will answer all your questions about using gold in your retirement account. This is the best way to stop your purchasing power from being stolen by Democrats like Joe Biden. So text HEDGE to the number 989898. That's HEDGE to 989898 to get your free info kit on gold. There's no obligation or purchase required.
8:40 on AM 560, The Answer. Let's check the roads in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, a service of Discover. Well, we could talk about how complicated other banks make it to redeem credit card rewards, or we could talk about Discover. Talk about amazing. Learn more at discover.com/redeem rewards. Terms apply. Eden's at 35 minutes from Lake Cook Road into the junction. Kennedy inbound. Very tough 76 minutes from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Ike inbound. Accident cleared inbound at Morgan, but it is 80 minutes from 390 into the old post office. Stevenson, 53 minutes from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Stop and go traffic Harlem all the way through Kedzie. Dan Ryan in, 23 minutes. 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Clouds and sun today, a high of 44. Currently 35. Next news at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Bernie Marcus, who last week was lamenting the state of the ethic of the American worker, particularly young people, don't want to work. Fat, lazy, and stupid. Had an interesting op-ed in the Journal about his experience as an entrepreneur. And it's such a great story, the story of Home Depot. He's co-founder of Home Depot with Arthur Blank. Because it just speaks to this myth that being an entrepreneur means, you start out, you open a business, and then, 30 years later, you're a billionaire. And it's just a straight line right up. No problems, no issues.
Would more than half fail? Small businesses fail within the first year?
He writes, I didn't start out in the home improvement industry. I worked my way up the corporate ladder only to be fired by a capricious boss. When I found myself unemployed at 49, at 49.
That's rough.
I had every reason to be bitter, but I turned to entrepreneurship, which made my life's second act far better than I could have imagined. With almost no money, I had the idea to open a hardware store, a lumber yard, and a garden store all in one. What began as a single store in Georgia grew to more than 2,000 locations nationwide and made me a billionaire in the process. Only in America could a member of an ethnic minority from a poor immigrant family write that kind of success story. But he says, the financial rewards pale in comparison to the emotional rewards of seeing my company help others become financially independent through entrepreneurship. Home Depot democratized the home improvement, landscaping, and building trade so that anyone willing to work up a sweat and learn some basic skills could immediately start a sole proprietorship or a small business serving some of the nation's 80 million homeowners. Or just do home improvements yourself and save some money in the process, right? You can see entrepreneurs driving around town in their trucks full of tools and material. Many of them are minorities. They don't consider themselves victims of racial wealth or income gaps. They're actively overcoming economic disparities through work. And he goes on to contrast that with the direction government is moving, which is in the direction of erecting hurdles to entrepreneurship, saying, as we talked about per his comments in the interview he gave last week, that if he started Home Depot today, it wouldn't have been, he doesn't believe it would have grown to 2,000 stores. It maybe would have been a few stores. And think how many fewer people would have been served, how many fewer people would have achieved financial independence as compared to the numbers that were served that did achieve financial independence because of Bernie Marcus's simple but elegant idea and is willing to be a productive risk taker at 49 years old.
Good for him.
For more on this in the context of, well, we have to go back to government because we're going to talk about the Fed and markets. Pleased to be joined by Jim Perry, our friend who has a new title, founder, CEO of Perry International Capital Partners. Speaking of entrepreneurship, no longer working for the man. Jim Perry's gone to work for himself. Jim, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate you having me this morning.
Yeah. So, I mean, just before we get into charts and graphs and the pronouncements of Fed governors, just a perspective as somebody who follows all of these entrepreneurs and their effective work product, the companies that they start or build. Your reflections on what Bernie Marcus has been saying of late. He seems like he's 93 years old, so I'm sure he feels like he's on the clock, and he wants to deliver some wisdom in the face of what he sees as a lot of ignorant public policy.
Yeah, I mean, small businesses and entrepreneurship are really the lifeblood of this country. It's what made this country what it is. There's more freedom to start things in this country than really any other region in the world. And he's absolutely right. The rewards financially are certainly part of it, but the bigger reward is the emotional and spiritual, constructive, ongoing life lessons of creating something that makes the world a better place for the people that work for you and your customers. So I'm a big fan.
Plus, it keeps a lot of guys out of the gin mills and gambling halls, too. I got to work. I got stuff I got to do. I got to accomplish productive things,
Right. Well, that kind of dovetails into what's going on here. This pandemic has been pretty crazy. There's something like 4.5 million fewer workers today than there were before the pandemic. So a lot of people have left the workforce.
Mm-hmm. So the market was booming yesterday for a portion of the day, and then a Fed governor said, don't put on the party hats quite yet because we still need to attack this inflation monster, so expect the Fed to stay the course in the face of that December jobs number that was surprisingly good. So, I mean, which shouldn't come as a surprise, it seemed to, but that's where we're at. We're still tracking for Jay Powell to continue hiking rates through the first quarter, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I suppose one quick sentence, to set the tone for the year for your listeners and investors everywhere, 2023 is going to be about the potential for a deceleration of inflation. It's going to be about the terminal level of funding rates, the longevity of restrictive policy, and the ultimate impact, really, of the end of stimulative policy on the economy and markets. And really, the primary macroeconomic focus is the Fed's efforts to control the inflation that they themselves created.
Well, and so you also have this, again, this sort of everything becomes government-centric. It necessarily, when the government expands itself into all nooks and crannies of people's lives. So, the one hand, we were told to not be concerned about inflated earnings while the Fed was doing all its asset purchases through a decade of quantitative easing. And now we're told, hey, ratchet down your expectations with respect to earnings. Don't be too taken aback if earnings don't meet expectations as earnings reports come out.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, earnings reports start Friday with the big banks and United Healthcare, one of the big stocks in the Dow. The Fed's inflation fighting regime, which was initiated last March, is definitely going to slow the economy down. The Fed's playbook calls for reversing inflation by crushing demand, right? The target goal for the Fed is low and stable inflation. I guess definitionally that's something like a 2% growth rate in what they call the personal consumer expenditures, PCE. But the question is, what's going to be the cost of this sort of reversal of stimulus on the economy and markets? And just looking at the math, profit margins are going to come down because the cost of money is going up.
And a lot of Americans are getting their Christmas credit card bills in the mail right now and having a little bit of sticker shock.
Yeah, I mean, this happens every January. You tend to get the slowest GDP growth of the year after the Christmas holiday season and consumer spending season. It's the largest retail sales month of the year, and it was negative. I mean, the December numbers are really important. That's why the non-farm payroll number last Friday was important, because it kind of sets the tone for the year. And savings rates are at generational lows, and credit exposure at the household level is at record highs. It's running, $400 billion higher this January than it was last January. That's an enormous number,
So at the household level last year, the average American lost 5% in terms of purchasing power because of inflation, wages not keeping up with inflation.
Yes, sir.
That gap may narrow for those who remain employed, but there's a lot more people who are going to be dislodged from their jobs as we're, getting the signals from a lot of big companies that layoffs are in the offing, and they also lost about $30,000 in their out of their 401k, so $30,000 in savings. So what should we think about the market, equities in particular? Is this a good place to go in despite the prospect of a recession? Despite the Fed continuing to tighten up and attack people's brokerage accounts, we should be in. We see a market that's going to tick up, or what do we see?
Well, it's the market. The stock market looks 6 months ahead, and the bond market kind of is in the present, as is the FX market. And the stock market is a bit of a reflection of human confidence and optimism. People need their own senses. I had an interview with a guy yesterday that says, I love the stock market, but I'm never going to make as much money in the stock market as I do my own business. This is an entrepreneur. This is a guy that owns his own business.
Right.
And I think that right now the tone is that, the Fed speak is definitely hawkish. I'm not sure they believe it or how long they're going to stay with it. But the fact is that the stock market has had 10, 11, 12 different days in the last 12 months where it went up 700 points in a day, like it did last Friday, right? So this is not unusual to see big upswings in the stock market. And the main reason for that is that financial conditions really are still quite stimulative. I mean, you look at China and Japan. These economies, the central banks there, they're pumping money into their economies faster now than they did in 2020, right? So the Chinese are doing it to protect the property market, and the Japanese are doing it because they want to inflate their economy, and they're able to do that for the first time in 30 years, and they probably thrilled that the Japanese economy is actually inflating a little bit. So financial conditions are easy. And I think that if you listen to Powell, and he's speaking in Stockholm today, funny enough about central bank independence, but, the Fed funds rate is at 4.5%, and inflation, we'll get more information about that on Friday with the CPI report, but, the last print was 7.1%. So what that tells you is that the real Fed funds rate is still negative, 2-3%. So financial conditions are still very stimulative in this country. And this is, the Fed's balance sheet is still almost $9 trillion, and the $5 trillion that the Biden administration printed and put right into the economy, that money is still floating around in the financial system. So it's not a done deal that the stock market necessarily has to go down another 20%, like some people say. But I have a hard time figuring out, what's going to be the organic driver of higher prices. I mean, the stock market, the S&P is selling at 17 times forward earnings, right? That's above average over the last 10 years, right? When we have recession, that forward PE multiple, 10 times earnings, is not unusual in a recession. We're at 17, right? And sometimes it goes down to 8. So there's a lot of risk in the market. And I kind of think, I've been telling my clients that be patient, be happy to buy a treasury bill that gives you 4.8% as a guaranteed return in 6 months, and wait for some of the dust to settle to see how China's reopening is going to play out and how restrictive policy is going to play out to the economy and the unemployment rate.
That sounds like sensible advice to me. I think I'm going to take it. Jim Perry, founder, CIO of Perry International Capital Partners, LLC. James, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Dan, thank you very much for having me. Have a good day.
Thanks. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, it's Amy, and MyPillow is excited to bring you their biggest bedding sale ever. Get the Giza Dream bed sheets for as low as $29.98. A set of pillowcases for only $9.98. Folks, they look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me, which is crucial for my busy schedule. So trust me, these sheets are ridiculously comfy. Rejuvenate your bed with a MyPillow mattress topper for as low as $99.99. They also have blankets in a variety of sizes, colors, and styles. They even have blankets for your pets. Get duvets, quilts, down comforters, body pillows, bolster pillows, and so much more, all with the biggest discounts ever. MyPillow is also extending their money-back guarantee until March. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201. Use promo code Amy, and you'll get huge discounts on all MyPillow bedding products, including those amazing Giza Dream bed sheets for as low as $29.98 while quantities last. And don't forget to use promo code Amy for the best possible discounts available.
A lot of people talking about testosterone, guys, but do your homework and be sure to go to a provider you can trust. I recommend my friends at Low T Center. That's where I get my levels checked and have for the past 8 years. Low T Center exclusively specializes in men's wellness. They check all your levels, not just your testosterone, and determine the cause of any symptoms you're having and whether you're a candidate for low T or something else like low thyroid or sleep apnea. Typically, their annual health assessment is completely covered by health insurance, and they check everything, including PSA, your prostate levels, and they check thyroid, liver and kidney function, cholesterol, glucose levels, and more. Low T Center has affordable and convenient options for treatment, including monitored self-inject treatment that ships directly to you each month, so no need to come to the center each week. Make your health a priority this new year and schedule your annual health assessment at Low T Center today. It's covered by most health insurance or less than $100 cash pay. Visit lowtcenter.com to book your appointment online. That's lowtcenter.com. Tell them Dan Proft sent you when you do. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Well, they dropped it down the stairs and then they tumbled off their truck. But when they fell out in the street, I knew I was out of luck. I got the crash, bang, boom. Should have had it in the staircase blue. yours in the star case too.
Yes, Starcase has designed custom reusable shipping cases for everything from irreplaceable trophies to mission-critical scientific equipment. Cases that can take the crash, bang, boom waiting for it when it leaves your dock. Let us build you a case specially designed to protect your stuff. Go to starcase.com or call 800-822-STAR. That's 800-822-7827.
The following is a paid political announcement.
I'm Dr. Willie Wilson, and I approve this message.
2021 marked Chicago's deadliest year in a quarter century. Crimes and gang-related violence continue to increase year over year. We can stop this violent cycle by implementing trade schools for young adults, former inmates, and other Chicagoans to learn valuable skills, providing opportunity, education, and economic empowerment. Choose Dr. Willie Wilson as mayor so we can keep Chicago safe together.
I approve this message.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan, it's indicative. Rock Bottom closed after 2 decades in business in River North. So bye-bye, another business gone in Chicago. All right, thanks to Justin Kosick and Quinn McCarthy. We're back here bright and early tomorrow morning. It is now 9 a.m. WIND Chicago.
Why did it take 2 months for us to find out? I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's one of the questions about classified